bitch. Let's not play. Good boy. Good boy.
Pullbacks, when it comes to meme coins, they happen at important fib levels. So let me just show you a fresh area here. So basically, it's the 382, 0.5, and 618. They're the most common ones for a sharp pullback. If you're getting a very, very deep pullback, you can get 786. But generally, what you want to think about is around 50 to 60% is a pullback. So this kind of range here. And how we can use that is we can go back onto the chart here, click here on where it says price range. Take the price range from the top. I wouldn't count that wick, so I'd count the top at around 3 million and pull down. And I can see that the 60% level comes in at around nearly 1 million, just above. And the 50% comes at around 1.45, 1.5, which actually we've gone through now. So when we've gone through a level, you can ignore that level for now. Because obviously that wasn't a level that we bounced at, we pushed through. So the next one I'm looking at is the 60618 level, which is really exactly 1 million. So if I'm trading this, which I will be doing actually, I'll be looking at a 1 million level. So how do you trade this? Now, when we get down here to the 1 million area, it's not going to be perfect. You're never going to perfectly trade. I really don't want it to go to 1.05, bounce and go to 2 million. And I have a buy order set at 1.01, if that makes sense. So I'm going to open up some trading software. So for this example, we use Photon, and I funded a fresh wallet. It's got about 9.7 sold. So combined with another wallet I have, it's showing us 10 sold in the top right at the moment. So let's just call it 10. I'll search for the token here in the top bar, and this is the token, and it's called Honey. And we can get onto a smaller time frame here. We can get onto 15-second charts, which is very, very useful.
Come on, you gotta
See,
plant
it's
the
actually
bomb,
getting
bro.
a nice bounce here around 1.3. But
Key.
again, I'm gonna wait.
You gonna be what you gonna do?
Another way I can trade this is, let's say this is the bounce, because we never know, nothing's 100% perfect with this. What we look for is a push up, break up the previous structure, break up the previous high, pull back at a higher low, and then we
Yo, plant the bomb, my dog.
If we get that set up, then I'm interested as well. So I'll just literally watch it manually, and I'll do a manual trade, meaning I'll literally watch the chart and then decide, okay, I want to buy it. And with this type of trade, for me, for my risk tolerance, I'll probably put a couple of sold on this, anywhere from 2 to 5 sold. But if you're brand new, you'll be looking at a lot less, 0.1 to 0.5 sold maximum. All depends obviously on your experience and your trading budget and portfolio and your know-how when it comes to this, in terms of strategies you've tried before. So we talked about pullback, we talked about percentage, we talked about psychological levels. The other thing is, when you look left and right, there are support and resistance levels. And if we draw a horizontal line here, you can see where previous highs were. So our previous all-time high was 1.2. So we need to note that as well when we're considering.
That's what I did. Now you try again.
So it's possible
right now.
to time the step. And the other significant ones are obviously higher up, like 2.2, we've got 2.8.
Look, I want to see who can hold it out there. When you got it like that, you can hold it out. Y'all like that. So y'all gotta break it down quick. If you got it, you got it. You can frame it. So we're gonna do the frame drill. This whole time, frame it. Don't even tuck it. Don't even tuck it. We run it down the line like this.
So I've seen loads of
Hold it out there. Do not tuck it. Eyes on it the whole time. I want to see who really got in. I let you know they was there this time.
You just have to be patient.
Nope. You see?
Like I said,
Watch my eyes.
you get very strong price action here and a deep
See that?
Oh
That's
shit.
what I did. Now
He
you try
already in the
again.
So that's what I'm
Right
thinking.
now.
movie store.
So we'll come back to this point. We'll see how it develops. But in the meantime, let's put a high order anyway.
Look, I want to see who can hold it out there. When you got it like that, you can hold it out there.
And with
But
this
y'all got it.
particular one, I want to set up a 2 Solana buyer. And also here, there's the market cap I want to buy. So to make sure it covers,
Let me go get some money real quick. No rush. Charge by the minute. Relax a little bit. I got this.
So if the market cap drops from here, I will
Let's see.
by 25%.
LAX to Bel Air, luxury ride.
Expiring
Just
in
call
4 hours,
in.
it's
So
like 6 hours. Because after 6 hours, the price is less than value and it's down up and not interested. You earn calculation lower.
So I'm Will.
So it's money.
Who you?
Then after that,
Jeffrey
I'm not
Thompson.
going to care.
Councilman.
I'd rather remove this
Don't see
back order. The downside
Let's
is
be
over
honest.
here,
You-
we're going to set the price of this, and we're going to put the next step. We're going to put that back. What I really do want to make sure that it's totally secure, especially in terms of not getting fun run, but sometimes you're thinking,
And for him, it'd be so easy. That first scrimmage, it was straight the starters versus the backup. We jump on. So it's me, the freshman, some of the second year guys. The very first jump, we jumping up, first possession. They get somehow get swung to bench. Somebody will come to jump shot. There's a problem. I'm at the top of the key. I can't get here.
Fuck.
He's going down the baseline. It's actually Coach Williams' son, Scott Williams. Scott tried
Your
to take a
future
shot.
is at your
Scott was a
fingertips.
step outside
Take advantage of the flexibility and diversity of futures trading with Ninja Trader, the #1 rated futures broker. Start trading
Damn, I
futures
got my
today.
man. My bad, Keith.
And for him, it'd be so easy.
I'll put this stick into the drill, then shave it down with a pencil sharpener. This will give me all kinds of wood shavings. Then I'll fill up the tuna can about halfway with these. Now I need to melt some wax. I'll put some into my double boiler, then once it's melted, I'll pour some onto the wood shavings. I'll add a little more, and then pour on some more wax. Then I'll add a third layer. After it sits for a while and cools down, you can keep it in your backpack. This will burn anywhere from 1.5 to 2 hours. You can use it as a cook stove to boil water, an emergency heater, or fire starter.
I don't mind holding a bit of a
Put
loss.
this stick in
That's when the owner pulls out a rifle of his own and fires. Security footage outside the store shows a suspect walk to a vehicle yelling, "He shot my arm off." That's when the owner pulls out a rifle of his own and
Easiest home renovation, tell your husband it took you an hour. These are annoying and disgusting. Let me show you what I'm doing instead. Found these on TikTok Shop. You just press it and then open, press it and close it. The old thing would get stuck down there and I have to ruin my nails picking it up. Installation instructions, done. Let me show you again. Okay, first, that's why this little catcher is so important. This is gonna catch the hair. It's gonna catch your lost jewelry. You couldn't pay me to show you what ended up coming out of here. Okay, let's install. Now you're gonna push it down really firm. Now you can open it, close it. I'm gonna open it and run the water. Easiest home renovation, tell your husband it took you an hour. These are annoying and disgusting. Let me show you what I'm doing instead. Found these on TikTok Shop. You just press it and then open.
I don't care what you think. This is not a drop. And if you think it is, you don't know basketball. Now look, I grab the ball on my left foot, which does not count as a step. Then I legally jump in the air to take step 1. Then I land on both feet for step 2. And then rise into the jump. Call the internet. I've been getting scammed on them like crazy.
Truly might be the guy. Walter Philippek. This was the first guy I've ever seen that had literally zero PTSD. They'd ask him a question, he'd be like, well, some of those Japs, they would have grenades when you go to take care of them, so I'd bayonet them. They were like, don't you think that's a little cruel? He's like, it's cruel, but then they were, yeah, I've done this. The best line is that he's like, they're like, were you ever like afraid while you're there? He's like, no, I didn't have a girlfriend back home. All I had was some family. I didn't care if I died. I didn't care about nothing. I still don't care about nothing. Dude, he executed a prisoner, and he talks about it. He's like, so my commanding officer, he told me,
Take the prisoner back, but you'll be back here in a minute. I said, yes, sir.
well, the line was a lot further than that, and I didn't want to be out there by myself. So he takes this Japanese prisoner back. So I told him, give me what you got in your pocket. And all he had was one picture. And I said, give me that picture. And he said, no, no, no. And I said, yes, yes, yes. So I shot him. And then it cuts to him holding up the picture. So him and his boys chopping off heads in front of the Great Wall of China. Truly might be the guy. Walter Philippek. This was the first guy I've ever seen that had literally literally zero. But one thing I said when I got ready to retire, if you got more entertainment, finish. Entertainment. For me, it was kind of an easy decision because I said, this is my last. I called Steve and I called my daughter and said, Daddy has to make a really tough decision. I just told my child to put the phone. They said,
Man, you definitely gotta know I'm camping somewhere, bro.
One more dance. I did it my way, and it ended on the 4-yard line in New Orleans. No greater way Adidas would ever want.
I'm addicted to this dude. All this dude does is deep fry. Asking for pigs and, you know, something here, cool, I can do that. Right? You go to Houston, you got a whole bunch of 3 men and 2 men that you can probably give us something that he can take you over the top to Western Conference second round or what.
Man, y'all sound like oil salesmen because y'all talking about 3 years from now, giving up Kawhi to get some picks. So that's basically saying, like, I'm looking forward to whoever reclassifying in high school.
Right.
Like, I want to, like, then we gonna build off of that. Elijah Arenas in the name of your son.
Yeah, we're waiting on him. That's what we're waiting on. But know what I'm saying?
But that's not gonna be championship ready day one.
But y'all never gonna be championship. But that's what I'm saying. No.
Y'all never championship. There you go.
You know, just like anything, you make you invest in the wrong thing. It can sit.
Oh yeah, you stuck.
Sometimes you just gotta let it go. You let Paul George go. You let Russell Westbrook go. Right?
Yeah. Is that looking like
Kawhi, you let him go.
Yeah.
You good. But is that looking like it? Just move forward. You got a new building. Yeah. There's players that's going into that building like,
oh yeah,
this is nice.
Yeah, a lot of them. Durant, all the boys we talking about.
Like a good thing they let Paul go. Yeah.
It is.
Oh, now it is. Huh? But we was telling you that. You sure? We was telling them that.
Disagreeing with that, huh?
We was telling them that a long time ago. I said we was telling them that a long time ago. Why? We said Paul George was cooked, and he thought. Like I'm looking at, like even with Kawhi, you look. No. Think about it. Look at your team right now. It's cooked. Look at it.
He adjusted.
He is podcast P now. Love it.
How you gonna say that? Because they starting off slow?
We ain't starting off slow. They are trash.
I know they are trash.
But look, they are nasty.
No. Embiid ain't been playing in time, so what, he trash?
We could trade him. At this point, I mean, at this point, we can trade him.
Kawhi for Embiid?
If he get hit in the face or get hit,
this is why players shouldn't be GMs, and most of them suck when they are GMs. No, we ain't seeing it from the right perspective. Sometimes doing nothing is something. No, and y'all ain't looking at it like that. Y'all like, nothing. Like with your girl, you're like, baby, we could just chill tonight. That's doing something. That's doing nothing, but it's something.
No, as a player, we see it faster. We see it fast. She can chill out. We see it faster. No, we see that.
Yo.
He be chilling.
No, we see he's doing.
Man, you know that bitch ass nigga was riding me, man, like an old hoe ass nigga. I don't know what he got his ass chewed out because he didn't fucking turn that dough in yesterday, and he want to be fucking with everybody. You know how that bitch ass nigga be, man. It's all good. I ain't tripping. I'm on the game. I'm at the house, Troy. I don't let that shit fuck with me. You already know, man. I'm way bigger than that shit. That shit over with. Yeah, I'm always gonna be good. Shit, that nigga ain't never gonna beat me. If I ain't working there, I'm gonna be good, man. I got other skills. He the one need that shit forever. I don't. I'm on the game though, Detroit, man. I'm good. I'm gonna mess with you, man. I'm getting killed. Hello. I think I just shot everybody. Yeah, I just shot everybody. Oh, he in the back there. He up in the top in the back. Up in the window. 3 left, you by yourself. Oh shit, my bad. My bad, Soft. God damn it. God damn it. Yo, how the... There's one laying down right there, Buzz. There's one laying down right there to the right. Well, he done got up. Yeah, but you see his beam. He in there. That's everybody. Diffuse. Diffuse, bro. What you doing? Fucking idiot, man. Damn. Niggas suck, bro. GG. Team doo-doo.
It's a legit coin. I don't need to look at whether it's been burnt and stuff like that, but you can already see the liquidity and the green sign there, like 20, 30, 40,000. Very rare. So we're going to set this on the higher side. So we're going to put 65,000. So if it's already dipped below 65,000, I'm not really interested. Next thing, we're just going to add one more filter, which is volume. And again, this is mainly just to take out some of the scam bots and scam launches. So basically on 24-hour volume here, which obviously includes, even if it's a brand new launch, it will include all of the volume. And basically here you can put a minimum of, let's say, $40,000. And we're going to do a few other things as well, but I'll show you why in just a minute. So first of all, just click on apply there. Now here what you want to do is then click on has profile. So that means it already has logo, name, everything, and this has all been updated on Dex Screener ideally as well. So you can see the list there is not very long. But now you're seeing stuff that's just launched, but is already at 800 or 900 million market cap. Obviously, those of you who've been trading for a while will know these as a scam. Just by the market cap alone, nothing reaches that market cap so quickly. Secondly, you'll know it's a scam because of the chart. Nothing rises straight up to 600 within a second and then slowly trends up like that with no organic dips and buys. But again, an easier way to do that, just to save time, is when you click on filter, just put a maximum market cap. Like nothing should be over, let's say, 50 million, even if that. But let's just put 50 for now. Click apply. So you see now a very short list. Now, most of these we're going to want to look at. So click on new profile again, and you'll see it's literally just 5, 8, exactly 10. Perfect. So it's 10 coins that we're looking at. And like I said, it's going to get a little bit technical. We're going to have a look at the price charts, and we're going to look at why we buy and sell in certain positions. For this video, ignore the 5-minute, 1 hour, 6 hour, 25. That doesn't matter at all. It's the charts that we're focusing on, because these are brand new launches. If they're brand new launches, the 6-hour change obviously doesn't matter at all anyway, because they're only maximum 2 hours. Okay, so now we're going to open these. We'll open the top 3 first. So first thing you want to do when you open these coins is, because we have time to place our trades, is to check, is it a scam? And this one obviously is, for many reasons, but to show you a couple of them very quickly. So first of all, nothing goes up just in a straight line like that, beginning all the way up to 16 million. It's going to go like this. Anyway, that's just from the chart. Next thing, if you scroll down here on the right hand side and you actually have a look at the contract address, you'll see it doesn't end in pump. So it's not a pump fund coin.
I got bombed down here, hey.
Coins anyway. But even then, by the way, ignore this, like where it says audit and stuff like that. This is nearly always wrong. So just ignore all of this stuff. The other thing you can see here is this is the liquidity is not being burnt here. So that's an issue as well. Now compared to when I first started trading meme coins, there's so many tools and bots and web apps you can use now to help you. For example, this one's called Soul Scanner. And you can find it here at soul_scanner_bot. And with this one, all you do is completely free to use. It's a Telegram bot. You just copy and paste the contract address. And when I did it for this one, Bat Pepe, I can see immediately there's a high holder and 0% are burned. These are the 2 red flag signs. So this is one that you would never ever go near. But again, if you're brand new, you won't know this stuff. So make sure you're using these tools to check. So many problems with this. So obviously this is a scam, so we won't trade this one. Next we've got another one here. This is called Honey Soul. And remember, we haven't even looked at any socials yet. Let me just refresh the page just to see if they've paid for Dex Screener on the right hand side, which I can't see yet.
Yo, he right here.
Let me have a look.
He right here in the
contract address. You can see
the vault.
this one is a pump fund coin. So that's good. So it's a legit coin. I don't
you just
look
looked at him,
whether
strawberry
it's
milk in the
burnt and
vault.
stuff like that, but you can already see the liquidity and the green sign there anyway for reassurance. Now this one is the Dex page. It's very easy to check on this website. This is called checkdex.xyz, and you just need to copy and paste the address here. So again, if we go back on the coin, scroll down and just copy and paste contract address. So you can do that from here. You click copy, paste it into here, check Dex Screener paid. And this particular one has been paid. It's just not being updated, which is sometimes an opportunity, by the way, before we pump, before it's obvious that it's showing. Now, let's get technical. Now, this particular one, I don't need to spend ages going through all of the socials and stuff like that. I can just tell just by looking at it. It says just this for honey, so it's playing on that kind of peanut narrative and stuff like that. So that's perfectly fine. But if we want to, we can search it on Twitter. You can see some random comments. Apparently, loads of whales are buying and stuff like that. Obviously, ignore all of that, but you get a bit more information about the actual coin itself, which is fine. So yeah, reasonable enough. Now, let's have a look at the chart. So we're on a 1 minute chart here. And when you have a look at this, you can see that from 100,000, which is where it reached the radium liquidity pool, it's about 100,000. It went straight up to 500 and then pulled back to 200. So it's very, very strong out of the blocks. In fact, on a 1 second chart, you'll be able to see even better. So let me zoom in and show you that. You can see there, around the 500,000 mark, it kind of oscillated around that. Some dips there, and then it moved actually very, very quickly. Moved very quickly up, all the way to around the 1 million mark psychological level, as a lot of you will know. And then we had a pullback almost exactly to 500,000. So far so good. And from 500, we ran again all the way up to just over 2 million, the next level. Had a pullback to 1.3 and then up to 2.7, so kind of in between trading there. So let's zoom back out to a 1 minute. And all in all, that's where we saw the top, around 3 million, which nowadays on Pump Fund Coins tends to be quite a common kind of take profit target. And we had a pullback all the way up to 1.5 round level. It didn't hold. We had a push up again, and now we're selling off. So all we need to work out as a trader is, where is our next opportunity here to buy? Let's say this coin recovers and pushes up again, because the volume is very good. You can see 11 million in volume, so no issues there. So the next logical level where we might see a pullback, the next round levels anyway are, we know 1 million is a level, and we know underneath there 500,000 is a level. So these are the round number levels that we know about. The other thing we want to consider is price range levels. Most pullbacks, when it comes to meme coins, they happen at important fib levels. So let me just show you on a fresh area here. So basically, it's the 382, 0.5, and 618. They're the most common ones for a sharp pullback. If you're getting a very, very deep pullback, you can get 786. But generally, what you want to think about is around 50 to 60% is a pullback. So this kind of range here. And how we can use that is we can go back onto the chart here, click here on where it says price range. Pick the price range from the top. I wouldn't count that wick, so I'd count the top at around 3 million and pull down. And I can see that the 60% level comes in at around nearly 1 million, just above. And the 50% comes at around 1.45, 1.5, which actually we've gone through now. So when we've gone through a level, you can ignore that level for now, because obviously that wasn't a level that we bounced at, we pushed through. So the next one I'm looking at is the 60618 level, which is nearly exactly 1 million. So if I'm trading this, which I will be doing actually, I'll be looking at a 1 million level. So how do you trade this? Now, when we get down here to the 1 million area, it's not going to be perfect. You're never going to perfectly trade. I really don't want it to go to 1.05, bounce and go to 2 million. And I have a buy order set at 1.01.
And like the vault is free. I gain more value out of the vault than like this freaking $4,800 pro.
If that makes sense. So I'm going to open up some trading software. So for this example, we use Photon, and I funded a fresh wallet. It's got about 9.7 SOL. So combined with another wallet I have, it's showing us 10 SOL in the top right at the moment. So let's just call it 10. I've searched for the token here in the top bar, and this is the token, and it's called Honey. And we can get onto a smaller time frame here. We can get onto 15-second charts, which is very, very useful. You can see it's actually getting a nice bounce here around 1.3. But again, I'm gonna wait and be patient. Another way I can trade this is, let's say this is a bounce, because we never know, you know, nothing's 100% perfect with this. What we look for is a push up, break of previous structure, break of the previous high, pull back at a higher low, and then we go. Now, if we get that set up, then I'm interested as well. So I'll just literally watch it manually, and I'll do a manual trade, meaning I'll literally watch the chart and then decide, okay, I want to buy here. And with this type of trade, for me, for my risk tolerance, I'll probably put a couple of SOL on this, anywhere from 2 to 5 SOL. But if you're brand new, you'll be looking at a lot less, 0.1 to 0.5 SOL maximum. All depends obviously on your experience and your trading budget and portfolio and your know-how when it comes to this, in terms of strategies you've tried before. So we talked about pullback, we talked about percentage, we talked about psychological levels. The other thing is, when you look left and right, there are support and resistance levels. And if we draw a horizontal line here, we can see where previous highs were. So our previous all-time high here, for example, was at 1.2. So we need to note that as well when we're considering a buy trade. So it's possible price could bounce there. And the other significant ones are obviously higher up, like 2.2, and we've got 2.8 million. So if we ever did push up, those might be bounce levels as well. So this is something called confluence. Confluence is when you get loads and loads of different things giving you the same potential area where you could get a bounce. So I've seen loads of different things hit. So that's why I'm definitely looking at the 1.1, maybe even 1.1 to the 1.2 level now. So we just have to be patient and wait for that. Like I said, unless we get very strong price action
back up
and a deep pullback, because then we can enter the trade from there too. So that's why I'm keeping an eye on. So we'll come back to this coin. We'll see how it develops. But in the meantime, let's put a buy order anyway. So let's click on buy the dip. This is an automatic order. And with this particular one, I want to set up a 2 Solana buy order. And I can actually type in here the market cap I want to buy at. So to make sure it triggers, we're going to go with 1.2 or so. So 1.21, something like that. So if the market cap drops from here, where it is right now, by 25%, it will trigger the trade, which I'm happy with. Expire in 24 hours, let's put a little bit less, 6 hours. Because after 6 hours, you know, if the price is messing about here and it's dying off, I'm not interested. To be honest, I'll put even lower. I'll put like 2 or 3 hours. So I can monitor it, because then after that, I'm not going to care. And I'd rather it removes this automatic order. Advanced settings, click on here, and we're going to set higher slippage. So we'll get something like 5 or 6%. And we're going to keep the MEB protection. We're going to keep that fast, because I really do want to make sure my trade goes through. Problem with secure is it's better in terms of not getting front run, but sometimes your trade doesn't always go through. So we'll keep this, actually we'll put this at 5, and we'll keep this as create order here. And you can see, if I remove the drawings here, that's the buy the dip level. So I've got that right there. So I've got the dip level board. Now, like I said, if it pulls all the way down, we're ready to buy. And if we buy and we jump in and we're in the position, remember I said this is a range, so if it's going to dip, it could be anywhere between here and probably 950k. This is a region. Not going to get this stuff perfect. So if it does come back in here, I don't mind holding a bit of a loss and seeing if it reverses. And I can always put a stop loss a little bit further down. Let's see if it makes it through here, because this is an important resistance level now, a level that was previous support here. So it's going to be hard to push through, but if it does push through this and then we get support on that level, then it's a lot more bullish. So let's see if it gets through. This is the technical side to meme coin trading, and obviously it takes a while to learn as well, but with practice, with looking through enough charts, obviously watching a lot of my videos as well, because I do get quite technical in the meme coin trading videos, you'll be able to learn more and more. There's nothing like knowledge when it comes to helping you with your trading. I'm going to go back on here for a second and have a look at some others, because we had a look at this one. We can sort it by volume as well, by the way, and that is the highest volume one of the last couple of hours. So a lot of volume going in there, a lot of interest, which is why I'm watching it very, very closely. And like I said, even if we push through here and I didn't time it
God
perfectly,
damn it, I looked at the wrong
still
side.
I'm still interested. And if it does run, wherever it runs from, where do we take profits? A very, very common area where we take profits is, first of all, again, draw off the psychological levels. I've been talking about this for a very long time in this channel. Many, many months, even going on over a year now. So we've got 2.5, 5, and then obviously 10 million, but also previous highs. So around the 2.7, 2.8 million mark in just under 3. So around this region here, very important to consider profits, because there's a very good likelihood that there'll be some selling back here, because this was exactly where resistance is. This is where everybody's watching. These levels come from natural law and mass psychology, basically. Because every other human being who's trading this, maybe that, well, there is, not maybe, but there are a lot of AI agents trading coins nowadays as well. But they'll all be looking at these levels as automated levels to buy and sell. So keep an eye on those too. So as we go down, see there's a big drop now in volume, and then we've got a couple here that we can have a look at. One at 800k market cap, one at 388. Let's have a look at those. Again, open a new tab. First thing we want to look at is there any kind of stack? That's the first thing. And are there any socials that we can look at? So we can have a look at that too. So this one ran up, you know, with very few pullbacks, very quickly as well, all the way up to 800,000. So I'm unsure. So if I go down here on the right hand side, I can see it's a pump fund coin. So that's very good. So that greatly reduces the potential for scams. But also we need to have a look at the holders, and we can analyze that on any tool, like for example Photon. By the way, whilst I'm about to do that, notice that this hopefully should trigger very soon. We're seeing a straight sell-off here. We had what looked like a corrective 3 move up into resistance here, and we've sold off.
Better futures start now with the NinjaTrader mobile app. With the power to customize how you trade on the go, you can quickly and easily place trades with a single swipe and view in-depth.
Which is Still getting bounces. Volume's looking consistent here. Mostly selling volume. So it looks like it will trigger. Like I said, even after it triggers, this could just jump all the way back down to 600-700,000. You don't know. This is the risk you take with meme coin trading. I'm looking at a risk of hopefully only 20% or so. And if my 2 SOL doesn't work out, I'll have lost 0.3, 0.4 SOL. However, if it works out, I might be able to turn that into the 2 SOL into 4 SOL or more. That's literally what I'm doing here. Risk reward. The other thing I can do is that if I'm seeing a strong bounce, so if I drop down to even a 1 second chart here, I'm seeing a lot more volume come in. So you're seeing a lot of bounce there around 1.2, but I don't think it triggered. I can actually just buy as well. So I'm just gonna consider blind buying as well, because I think I've just missed it there, which is annoying. So let's do 1 SOL, and then if it dips down, that's fine, we can always buy more. So basically bought 1 SOL here. As you see here, my dip was at 1.2, but I think the exact dip price, we'll see it better on Dex Screener. The exact low here came in at 1.24, so a little bit higher. But like I said, I don't know if that is the dip either. It could dip lower to where my targets were. I don't know. I just don't want to miss this one because, like I said, the volume's decent. It's at a very good, healthy pullback, and it's bouncing on where the previous high was. So I'm interested for sure. So I bought in a bit higher, as you've seen. It was about 1.37, 1.4, around there that I bought it. So let's see how it goes. If it starts to run, then we'll talk about some take profits and stuff. If it's struggling, we'll talk more about where I might want to take a loss if it's not working out. Either way is fine. So we're on this next one that was called Nate Bag. A few things I can check here on Photon. So if I zoom out, let's say to a 30-second to look at the overall chart, and I click on other trades here, I can include dev trades, sniper trades, insider trades. So they're all on here. So I can see dev bought and then dev sold pretty much straight away. So it's basically what you might call a CTO. And the chart's looking actually quite strong. So let's click on Twitter. This one is from a proper account. Like, I don't know who this account is or what it is. And this person is talking about how an AI coin from a month ago went to 600,000 market cap. So they were considering how to CTO this or something like that. So I don't know if it's a new one that's been created. It's strange, but something definitely going on here. So obviously it needs a lot more research, but clearly you don't have to do that much. There's something going on here. There's a lot of engagement. It's a larger account with 36,000 posts. So it's not some like random fresh Twitter account. So yeah, we're live here. Definitely something to look at. And the thing is, when you get these organic ones, these decent ones that are running, and they're getting very few pullbacks here, it's very, very bullish too. They're still going to get pullbacks. We've seen we've almost fallen into the range, and we're getting the volume increasing all of the time. So we're in a range here. So what I like to do with these ones is either wait for it to hit
behind the pool out there, behind the pool, yep,
which it hasn't done right now, and wait for a more significant pullback. It might be too early, or buy.
That's everybody diffused.
So this is a completely different strategy. It's another strategy I teach, and this is range trading strategy. Where the safest place is, that's now all the support, that's now all resistance. You'd prefer to buy here. You don't necessarily have to sell at the high, but you might want to take a little bit profit because the range is quite large. So it's everywhere from 400 to nearly 900. So it's a 2x range basically. So we're going to wait for this one and keep an eye on it. Let's see what's going on with the other coin. So with this particular one, let's zoom out a little bit. We don't need a 1 second chart anymore, and let's remove some of these drawings. So in a 15-second chart here, and we see it's gone up. My dip didn't trigger. The dip I didn't trigger. So what I would do is probably cancel that actually, because I don't want to mess with that now. If I see a move up from here and really struggle, because my strategy was to buy the dip, and the dip just happened to occur a little bit higher. And I think there was also one more we opened here, Shiba San. So we'll have a quick look at that one too. That ran to what looks like 500, and it's pulling back from there. Have a quick look. Yeah, it's a pump fund token, the tobacco seller dog. Again, we're going to open that in Photon as well, just to see is there any insider trading, any other concerns. Have a quick look at holders as well. So you can see this one we were in before, average price just under 1.4. This one's doing fine. And
back up,
but we're not going to be interested in taking any profits at like 1.8 or well below 2. There's just no point. The whole point of this is to see whether it actually does a little bit more running. And here, from the low, I can see slightly higher low, slightly higher low. So it's still maintaining some sort of structure. So I'm still open-minded. But if it breaks back below this area, 1.3, 1.2, I'll probably sell up. Now it is possible it can go double bottom and then go back up as well. But like I said, the coin's too new. When anything's too new like this, I wouldn't be interested. The only thing I do like about this, like I said, is the volume. Overall volume has been very good. So this one now, which is called Honey, again it's attacking this area, so it's looking decent enough. Ideally we want movements like this. If it did start to get going, we want to see a few green candles in a row. This is called an impulsive move. Whereas when you see it kind of going sideways like this is
B-side too.
Like that. So we just have to be a bit careful about that. At the moment it's mostly sideways, and we want to keep trying to break these and make higher highs as well. Not only higher lows,
back
higher highs
up.
as well. We don't want to kind of lose that structure. Again, it's getting a bit technical, but these are the things that I'll be looking at. Let's talk about take profits now. So we discussed it a little bit earlier, but these are the levels I'm looking at. So you can see one clear, there's a high there, and there's an important level.
Laying down behind the planter, behind the pool.
I want to take one lower. So if we get there, what I would do is I would do an auto sell. So click on auto sell, take profit, and then here what we would want to do is around the 2.3. We'll put 2.320. So if the price rises another 40% from here, so from my position it's more like 70-80% say, we'll take a little bit of profit. So we'll take 40% as an example. And this expires, we can leave that as 24 hours because it might take time to get there. And again, we want slippage a little bit higher, so 5 or 6%. On the sell side, it doesn't matter as much, the MEV protection stuff. Create order, so we've got that there too. So we've got our average price, that's the take profit. Now, if I'm moving away from the screen and I'm worried about the position, I can put an automatic auto sell as well. So for auto sell here, market cap is, and this I don't want to see it really messing about around the 1.3 area anymore. So put that there. So basically, sorry, I have to click on stop loss there.
You've probably used price action order flows in your futures trades, but you haven't used this. That's because we just invented it. This is big. Not to be dramatic, but we may have just made standalone price action.
Now 131. So basically, if it drops 27-28% from where it is right now, I'm not interested anymore. Sell the whole 100% and it can expire in 24 hours. That's fine. Same slippage, etc. Create order. So now what I've done here, again, remove the drawings. You can see I'm here between the range. If it hits this kind of orange-brown line, golden line, I'm out. I'm not interested, and I'll take a small loss. Loss will be hardly anything. Probably be about 0.1 sold, something like that. But if I take profits here, I should be up a little bit, because right now my position, if you click on sell now, 100%, my position is up 0.23 of a sold. Because remember, we bought for 1 sold, so we'll see how it goes. Ideally, I wanted 2 sold, but we never got that automatic buy, which is okay. Looking at this one, we've got the buy the dip order ready. Again, it's looking weak-ish. The volume's dropping a bit as well, so there is a good chance it will drop back. Now, another level it can drop back if it's very deep is all the way to 100. And remember, with all of these drop back levels, that could have been the forever top. We don't know. We don't know for 100% sure. But the good thing is with this dip buying strategy, even if that is the top, the highest it will ever be, you will get a level here, either 200 or 100, where it'll do a little run. Might do a 2x or more, and then fail. So I can still actually, you know, even at worst break even, but sometimes actually make a really tidy profit there, even if it struggles and it's going to fail anyway. To be honest, some of my best coins aren't the ones that ran to hundreds of millions. It was trading these new ones that failed eventually, but gave me a good 5x, 10x, or even more in these initial stages. So that's why I do like this area of trading. Anywhere from kind of 500,000 market cap to 1 million, it's really, really fruitful in terms of ROI. And then 1 to 5 million upwards for some better quality coins. This was the other one I was looking about here. It's called Shiba San. And annoyingly, I had to leave the screen, but this was a really good one because I was watching it here coming down and it did bounce under the 200 actually. I would have put an automatic 200 buy probably here too. And it's ran really well. So from
you
there,
just heard him right there.
We've got at least a 3x there. But again, I'm not in this position. But look at the volume below. So sometimes it's easier to watch the volume if you zoom out a bit. But you can see it's actually increasing in volume, which is very bullish. And this is going to go on a good run from here. Already has done. Now I'm still open-minded about this. So if we do get a healthy pullback, I will be interested. But I need to see where the swing high is. So this. So for example here, this would be a swing low, this would be a swing high. This would be a place where we got the highest high and then it started to break structure. I don't know where this will be yet. It could be from here, it just depends on what happens with price going forward. So we don't know yet. Now note that this is not going through. It's because my slippage is too low here. So I can change this to 4 or 5. Click on fast. Even while it's trying to go through, because that one looks like it's going to fail. Now click on 40% and then click. So now it has actually sold. and it's still at the 1.6. So we took some profits there, nothing incredible. Took a little bit of profits there. Now let's see if it can bounce. Now let's see if it can bounce around 1.5 and run. But again, if it's coming lower down, because as I say, the chart's not looking great, then I'm out of the position, and I might sell a little bit higher as well. Just to, again, tie in a little bit of profit. Looking back at this list, I'm going to click refresh, because obviously with the time settings we had, there might be some new ones here as well. And then I'm going to click on volume, highest to lowest, and see if there's anything else that has come up. We've got this one here as well, and an agent one as well. So we'll have a look at both. This is for James, and this one is a pump fund coin again. This particular one, just scroll out to a 1 minute chart and see how it's doing. So it had a bounce at 52,000, so it actually got really low in terms of price, and then a strong bounce from there. So let's open in Photon. Again, you get different trends, and clearly this is a trend right now, these coins, so that's why it seems to be doing well. Now from there, by the way, 500 all the way to 500, I'm not surprised there's profit taken. I mean, that actually a 10x from there. Seems like the coin's done nothing, but these are the kind of crazy gains you can get if you get in very, very early. Obviously, I'm clearly a few minutes late to this one, but never mind. Let's click on 15 seconds, and let's wait and see how the price develops. Let's see if there's any others. There's another one I opened, which was this one, this Agents Autonomous. So this one, looking quite weak here. It dropped to 60,000. And again, remember, we have to do all of the other same checks as well. I'm just quickly trying to do them all at the same time. So pump fund coin holders, that's liquidity pool. There are some kind of big holders, but nothing too bad for such a low market cap coin. Volume is okay, but then the last 5-10 minutes of volume, not really great. The volume's really died off there. So quick eye on my positions, which I do manually for these newer ones, so I keep an eye on it. Even after it's done a dip buy. So this particular one, looking okay. So this is 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th lower high here. So looking good. So I think we could run, because if you look here as well, we've made some higher highs as well. So that's good so far. So that was a nice bounce. We needed that 1.5 bounce. We've got that. So it's good. But I am 40% out of the position. I did take some profit. So it's only a smaller position now. Let's see if we can get to that profit target there. This is the Agents Anonymous one that we added. So let's go to a 30-second chart.
Hey Mike, what is that?
It's Iron Beam, your go-to place for futures trading.
Whoa!
Yeah, just hold on. You're about to be...
And let's see what's going on with the dev here. Dev bought, and then there was some insider selling here as well, which was always a little bit suspicious. Let's be careful with that. Bubble maps, like I've said before, doesn't always give you the whole picture, but again, you can just have a quick glance at it just to see the top holders. See some of the holders here as well. Just quick check to see if it looks bundled. This is another bot I've used before, Trench Radar Scanner, so you can just copy and paste it into here. So this particular one, you can see here at the same time slot, there was a lot of wallets that bought up a large amount of the supply. So very likely it's bundled. Another large bundling here, so we won't go near it, and that's the end of that. So this is basically a scam, quote unquote, and this is this one, AA. So we'll see what happens with the price anyway, but that's very likely what's going on with this one. So this one looked like it pretty much was gonna run. There's some profit taken here, and it's again a lot of profit taken. Again, another higher low. So let's see what happens. It's kind of in between territory now, so I don't really know, to be honest with you. All I know is the volume still dying off. So I'll show you that a little bit more clearly. You can see that. You see that very, very clearly there. Really, to get a new pump, you need it to get a bit more volume. So basically, I'm going to sell just based on that alone. We made a little bit of profits here, nothing special. We'll discuss that later. This one's going sideways, still looking strong. It's very rare I do what you might call top blasting, where sometimes the coins look so strong that you don't even wait for a dip. You just randomly just ape in a buy. I just don't like to do that anymore. I find even with the better coins, there always are dip opportunities. And to be honest, from a risk reward and trading strategy perspective, it's just not smart to get in the habit of doing. You could very easily just buy the top way of the coin, lose 40-50%. And you see, I've started this with around 10 SOL. If that dropped to 2 or 3 SOL, the amount of work I would have to do to get that 2 SOL back to 10, I literally have to do 5x and stuff, is a lot. So I really don't want to take any big risks where I could lose 70-80% of a position. It just doesn't make sense. The other way you could do it is, again, if you're a sharper trader, I could buy here a smaller dip, like at 500,000. We just watch it like a hawk. And if it's not immediately pushing off, I sell quickly. This one's bounced even lower now at 1.4. just zoom back out. This one's just gathering momentum, so I will do a little top last day. So we'll go with 2 sold. Let's see how it goes. But I'm very quickly going to sell, but I don't think this is going to work out. So I'm going to be ready. So bought 2, got my average price there, and I'm keeping a very close eye on this one. I just think it's past support levels like 500 and stuff. So usually around here, apart from just this all-time high, which we're right next to, we've not got any immediate resistance. The next resistance is about 900. So I'm taking a calculated risk where I'm top lasting for sure. I'm basically buying the high, but thinking that it's a decent moment to buy the high, and I'm looking at the volume, which with every peak seems to be getting higher, which is a good sign too. So I'm comfortable with my 2 sold, but I need to be very aggressive with selling, especially taking profits or taking small losses if I need to. So we'll zoom out on this one, go to a 15 second, and we might even put an automatic sell in place here. So we're looking at, so I don't like to do 1 million, so basically we're going to go with automatic sell less. So I like to go around 940s. So auto sell, take profit should be 9s, 9433. So another 20% from here, take 50% off. Advance, let's do 4%, so it's a bit tighter. Yeah, now we've got it showing properly, so that's good. So again, good volume coming in. Let's see if it can tag my take profit, or if we get a lot of selling before that, which can happen too, because again, everybody's doing what I'm doing. They're thinking, I definitely want to take profits, and some people have been in it since 100,000, since 200,000, so it's a great opportunity for them. And because they didn't see any serious selling yet, they didn't have to worry about panic selling either. So I don't think I need to do anything yet. And to be honest, if it sold off from here, I wouldn't take a sell. I would hold my position and see if it could build up again, because it just wouldn't make sense for such small profit taking. It wouldn't make sense. However, 940, 950, yeah, it makes sense. Take a little bit of profit there. So this one's still making unbelievably 4 or 5 higher lows, and it's curving round, which is a little bit more bullish. But again, I've not really seen any volume come in. So I'm still going to assume we're just in a range here, kind of like that shape. So we're still in here. Now again, if we break out, this could get very bullish. But so this one, again, didn't quite make it. There's a lot of profit taken, but I will wait. Zoom out, see what the volume's like. Yeah, definitely wait. No problems there with the volume. So let's see if this automatically triggers live. And you can see here, you can see take profit order has been triggered, and you see it didn't go through the first time. Second time it went through. So we've sold 1.47, and the rest of the position will hold. And to be honest, it was looking so strong. You know, there's an argument whether I should even have bothered to take some profit. But yeah, I think still it's sensible, especially if you're new and you just get into grips with this. You got to look to take profits as you go along. So what position size do we have left here? So we've still got, so if I go on to 100% here, you can see I've still got another 1.4. So sold at 1.4, so we're nearly like 1 sold up. Half of it we've taken obviously in profits, and it was a 2 sold buy-in we had. You can see the average price there. So if this gets to 1.2, that would be a 2x, for example. So now I'm just going to hold and wait. So now, if it pushes through, you see that? That's the full 1 million and just above selling. But again, I'm not particularly worried. Look at the large candle there. Just so many people taking profits at the same time. So it was always going to happen, and we are going to get a dip for sure. But again, I have a feeling just with the way it's moving, it might be a shallow dip. And with my remaining position, if we do run, now we're in blue sky territory, and now it's literally just levels I've discussed, 2, the 2.5, and if it really round 5. Now I see very few running to 5, so I'm automatically not thinking it's going to make it there. I'm more thinking where I've seen a lot run recently, the 2.5 to 3 area, is probably going to top there. So because I'm not going to be watching this all the time, this screen, what I can do here is, again, same thing. I can automatically put a sell if we did ever get there. Now the good thing about this one is, I don't have to watch the screen, and if it wants to, because I think this is a slightly better meme, price could do all of this, and I don't care. Because I've taken some profits, I've protected my position now, and I can put a stop loss here, which will protect my profits too, which means there's no way I can take a loss on this trade. Now let's do the stop loss first. So how I would do it is, I'd have a look here, and push the chart up and see where, when we had this range here before, look where all the support was at 500. So there's a good chance if we get some massive dip, we'd get support again at 500. Now sometimes we have quick wicks below and then come back up. So what I would do is I would put the auto sell stop loss a little bit lower, give it a bit of
Move.
space. So even below 475, I'd put it about 469, say. So if it drops by 50% from here, I'm out of the position, 100% sold, and we'll leave that for longer, 72. Because if this position drags and I just don't keep an eye on it in the next couple of days, I want to make sure that's there. So because I don't want to take any losses. So we'll put, let's say 4% slippage, fast, pre-order, that's there.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store preloaded with 20 handpicked products that are trending all over the world, basically validated by...
That's it, I'm completely secured in this position now. Better place to be. Now, automatic sell for take profit, let's do that too. So I would say I'm going to go with 274, and the reason for that is I think 2.8 and stuff, there's a lot of wick and a lot of pressure selling there as well. So I would rather go for this, sell another 50% of my position, because obviously as I get to there, if it ever gets there, the 50% will be worth obviously a lot more. So I'm happy to take a larger sell. 72 hours, I don't care when it gets there. 4% slippage is fine, fast is fine, pre-order. So now, if it gets there, you see it's a good bit higher up, 50% sell there. I'm perfectly fine with that. The way it's consolidating around 1 as well is looking okay. Because if it gets above here, it might drop back to 1, but we're still way above my stop loss. So I'm going to give it a chance. And the good thing is, if it sometimes you see coins all the time, like I've shown you another one before we looked at, it can run to here and then drop all the way back down to 1 million. But because I put a take profit, because I didn't miss this, I know I'm going to take some profits before it comes all the way back down. I don't want to just bag hold, lose all of those profits all the way down, and then get into it. So I'll come back to this. I might have to even pause the video and just show you later how this played out, just for curiosity's sake. I just want to bring you back to this one as well. Remember I showed you this range? It's still messing about in the range. Volumes, it was dropped in, but it looks okay. It's sustaining, let's call it sustaining volume, sideways, which is actually not a bad sign. It's not dropping even further. There's still some interest. So it's about what to do here. Now, I'm very careful if I've bought and sold a coin before, especially if I've made a little bit of profit or a small loss on, aping into these again and again. You have to be very careful with that. It's a very common mistake to make, especially if you didn't buy in, or you bought in and you sold too early and you see it go up and you FOMO in. So I'm actually, even if this one runs now, I'm actually not going to just randomly buy in at something that's not a support level. So at the moment, I believe I'm only in this trade for now. So we had a little bit of trade on the others, we're only in this trade. And let's see how it goes. Like I said, I can sell all the position now. What is it worth now? It's worth, so to check, you could just click on sell now, click on 100%. You can see this is worth 2 sold now, this position. So it's decent. So far, like if I sold everything right now, would probably be up about 1.5 sold, going on to 2 sold with the other slight profit. So not much, maybe $500, something like that. It's good start. And this is the other coins that have the volume. So these ones that I showed you, that you can quickly filter down. There's not a lot to look through. There's only a few here. Focus on this region, especially if you're newer. It's a safer region. Do your due diligence and checks. By the way, if you want to go through all of this in a lot more depth, I do have my comprehensive meme coin trading program, first link in description, and there I go into a lot more detail, a lot more technical detail especially. And dependent on when you're seeing this video, you might still be able to get the extended sale offer. There might be a voucher code there too. So what I thought might be really good is to recap the trades. This is about 20 or 30 minutes later after the point. And I'll show you something interesting on this one. On Honey, what I actually did in the end. So I bought and I sold my position, if you remember. And if you remember talking about it at the time, I was expecting a bounce from 1.5, which we did. But then we retested the bounce. So I got a bit nervous there and took my position and took a little bit of profits. But obviously in hindsight, that was a bad idea. The problem was the volume was dropping for me and it wasn't coming in. It actually came in a little bit later there, which again is a shame. And also, even after we broke out, look at this, I had a dip buy set up here at 1.8, which again, we just missed. So it's just one of those things. On another day, you know, obviously these trades will work out a lot better, no big deal. But if I stayed in that 1.3-ish position, if you have a look at this going up now, this ran, got to a previous resistance, had a little bit of a sell-off, but nothing major, but then went to psychological resistance, which we know to be 5 million. Perfect profit taken. So if I actually had, I think I only had 1 sold in the end, but if it ran, it would have made 3-ish sold, and if I had 2 sold here, it would have got 5, 6 sold. And actually even here, to be honest, is looking really good, because what are we seeing with the volume? Volume is high at the moment. So that's really good. So again, like I said, I don't like dipping back into things, but if the opportunity arises and we get a proper sell-off, I might have a look. And now I'd be having a look probably around the 2.5 mil or just the high here. You see this high here? So around that high. That's how I'd look at it. Again, this is all part of technical analysis, all part of trading. You're not going to trade these perfectly, but I didn't need to be perfect. If I got in anywhere here and sold out the first normal major resistance level at 5, that would have been it. But anyway, hindsight. I'll do another live trading video, and hopefully on that one we'll get everything will just click. This was the other one, and this was the one weirdly that was actually looking a little bit stronger. But what happened here was, if you have a look here above the 1 million level, we got this triple top. Again, the other thing you want to watch out for when you're moving up is we're hitting the same resistance level a few times, and then it becomes a very strong resistance level. We either get a double top, that's 2, or triple top, that's 3. Again, this is all TA. And then when it pulled down, made the lower highs, then I was out of the position. I sold some there, took some profits. Again, not the best trade in the world, made a little bit, I think barely, maybe 0.7, 0.8 sold, something like that. Even though if I'd sold all here, it would have been 1.5. But again, you have to hold. You have to see, once you're in position, you have to hold and give it time. And if it's not working out, you sell out. Now, will this do another dip? And is it possible to buy back in here? Possibly. So here what I would look at is, have a look at the 1 minute, have a look at the volume here. Where was the previous high? We kind of broke through that 500,000 support level. Because if you remember me saying 500, do you remember I had a stop, original stop below here? I mean, I sold all out higher up, but my stop was below here. But you can see why. Because look exactly where we bounced, 500, 500 again. We bounced there. So it's right to have, because we could have bounced there and keep running. So it's the right place to put a stop. But we failed. So my stop, even if I left the position open, my stop would have just triggered here, and I probably would have been about break even on the trade, which is no big deal. Now actually we ran all the way down to 300,000. Now if you actually remove the drawings here and we do a price a range here, it's about, I think it would be about 60%, I believe. Even more, 786. So actually I'm going to buy back in here on the dip, and the video will be too long, so you'll just have to check yourself and see how this went. But I bought back in here, and we'll see. The first area we need to get through is 500. If we get through 500, again, this will be the area on a bounce for profits. Remember, these are all new coins, so the momentum is with them at the beginning. They will do whatever they need to do, and then they will fail, most of them. Some won't fail. Some will carry on and do big things. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is it carries on, gets to somewhere near here, double top, then fails. And the final possibility is just as a lower high and then fails. But even in that final possibility, I could trade the bounce here and make a little bit of profit. With my 2 sold, maybe make 1 sold in profit, 2 sold in profit, and then it can sell off. Let's see how it goes. And this was the other position, the Nate back position, where we got in at the dip. So you don't see the dip by there, but you can see if I hover over, I bought in at, well, it triggered at 189. So literally perfectly bought the low there. So this particular one, I believe, should be up. So if I click on sell here 100%, we're up to 3 sold, and I think it was a 2 sold buy. So let's see how this one develops. So you can see here at the top I invested 2 sold, the remaining is 3.2, so we're up just a little bit. So it was a nice dip buy in the end. But anyway, let's see how it goes. And where am I looking for sell targets? Well, very simple. Definitely 500. You can see there, that's where resistance was. Will it even get there, or is this just a dying coin with lower highs? Not sure. So if we struggle here, I'll probably sell half the position, take half profits here, but again, we don't know if we'll break through. Having a look at volume very quickly, so go into 1 minute. See, the volume is pretty low, so to sustain this pump going up, you have to get more volume. Otherwise, I'll just take a sell here, bank the one and a bit Solana, and just move on. Guys, I hope this video was helpful, and if you did find it helpful, please comment below, and I'm more than happy to do more kind of live trading like this, where I just go through my whole thought process as well. Thanks for listening.
We've got passion, we've got determination. Like, and if we set our sights on something, you better believe it's happening.
It's the sick man of crypto. Years of sliding against BTC have kept the fans asking, is this thing on? And the market replying in the negative. But just days away from 2025, ETH has snapped out of its coma. Alt season is here, and it's now or never for Vitalik to save his reputation. Many are now asking, how high will ETH go? But also, will it even go high? How poor will we be if it doesn't? Is 10k programmed? And even, Is the top in? My name is Guy, and today we have all the answers. Stay tuned. Before we hear another word about ETH, there's some information I must bequeath. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing I'm about to tell you is financial advice. It's just my own opinion about a certain cryptocurrency's price. You should also know that I'm a holder of this crypto. In fact, many of us here at the Coin Bureau hold ETH in our personal portfolios. This won't stop us being objective and unbiased, though. Just telling you, so now you know. And by the way, if you'd like to know which other cryptos we're buying, selling and hodling, you can find out by becoming a member of the Coin Bureau Club using the link in the description. And just one more sage word of not financial advice. There are no certainties in financial markets. We'll discuss various targets in this video, some we find more likely and some we find less so. The truth is that the market could give us none of them. This is why you must be prepared for every possible outcome. And most importantly, when, where, why and whether or not you buy, sell or hodl ETH are decisions that only you can make. Alright. Small print over and out. So, 2024, a year that tested ETH holders like none other. Of course, ETH has suffered worse during bear markets, but so has every other crypto that's been around long enough. It's one thing when the whole market is going down, but quite another when you're slowly bleeding out while your family is sipping champagne with Larry Fink. And until recently, this was the story of the ETH BTC chart. So, let's recap how this played out. 2024 kicked off with a monster rally fueled by hype around new spot Bitcoin ETFs in the United States. By March, BTC had blazed a path to a new all-time high, and it dragged the rest of the market up with it. Altcoins were ripping, and ETH was no exception.
Yo, come on, you gotta let me get that Call of Duty.
It did break above $4,000 for the first time since 2021, and that's not to be sneezed at. It was all going so well for ETH. Until, that is, BTC ran out of steam and decided to set up camp in the $60,000 to $70,000 region. BTC stayed in this region, not far below its new all-time high, for most of the next 7 months. This was a sign of strength that ETH, tragically, was unable to muster. While BTC was preparing for an inevitable second leg up to 100k, ETH fell off a cliff. Between March and August, its price very nearly halved, from around $4,100 to around $2,100. This meant that ETH retraced all but $11 of the gains it made in 2024. It began the year at $2,100 and recorded a low of $2,111 on the 5th of August. This $11 was, of course, little consolation to ETH holders, many of whom will have started questioning their life choices. Anyway, it's against this backdrop that we now ask what we can expect from this black sheep of crypto. It's the biggest altcoin by a very long distance, with a market cap much greater than that
what
of
the
USDT
fuck is he doing
and
in the
USDC
spawn?
combined.
That's my
But
luck.
its price performance has disappointed speculators time and time again, like a toxic ex who you keep calling despite their history of treating you poorly. Well, good news. It took a while, but ETH is finally, at the time of making this video at any rate, back above $4,000. Now, in the time it took for ETH to reclaim its March high of $4,093, BTC has managed to smash $100,000 and start consolidating around $30,000 above its own March high. As I record this, ETH is actually still short of reclaiming its own March high. We're praying that it won't be a double top, which would indicate a bearish market structure. But we are in the thick of an alt season, so this is quite improbable. Now, presuming we see a high time frame candle closure above $4,093, ETH is most likely about to attack its all-time high of $4,878. After that, it's off to the races for ETH. How high will it go? Can ETH 2x from here? Is 10k programmed, or are we already closer to a cycle top than anyone expects? Well, let's compare a few scenarios from the most bearish to the most bullish. The most bearish scenario for ETH this cycle is that it continues to underperform BTC horribly, and as one BTC hedge fund founder put it, die, quote, a slow death. And sure, you can always trust a Bitcoin maxi to say stuff like that. But the possibility of this scenario playing out became very real when, following the election of Ethereum DeFi protocol founder Donald Trump, ETH continued to topple against BTC. And as most of you will know, the strength of ETH is best measured not against the dollar, but against Bitcoin, and you can see this for yourself in the ETH BTC chart. If you're a long-term ETH holder, you may want to avert your eyes though, because it ain't pretty. ETH BTC has been tanking for almost 3 years straight. However, there is also a simultaneous and much longer trend of ETH BTC making higher lows. This trend persisted for 8 years, and it was probably the greatest source of hope for ETH holders. But of course, there's a reason I'm using the past tense. In mid-November, ETH broke below the 8-year trend line and fell to below 0.032. How much this number means to you will be a very good proxy for how deep you are into crypto and candlestick charts. The point is that this had ETH bulls panicking and bears salivating, because a high time frame candle closure at this level would likely signal an accelerated breakdown of ETH versus BTC. An analysis shared by Cointelegraph suggested that such a breakdown would lead to ETH BTC painting an inverse cup and handle pattern, potentially resulting in a further fall of around 50% to 0.017, a level not seen since January 2020. This would most likely bring about an altcoin Armageddon beyond our worst nightmares. Let's not think about it. The good news is that sharper technical analysts who identified the 0.03 region as a powerful reversal level were proven correct, our friend Ben Cowan being one of them. ETH bounced from the 0.03 level back above 0.04, keeping the 8-year trend line intact. In other words, ETH's vital signs are still present and bears are cancelled. Hooray! So, the worst case scenario appears to be invalidated at this point. And, like I said, ETH poked its head back above 4K recently, so let's see how high it might go. Barring any black swan events spoiling our party, we should be able to take for granted that ETH will break through its previous all-time high of around $4,878 recorded in November 2021. Where it goes from there, though, is the real question. Because ETH has spent so much time sliding against BTC and wallowing in price purgatory, it can be difficult to imagine a parabolic repricing. However, once the all-time high is broken, there will be no historical levels of supply or resistance above. Price discovery will ensue, and ETH is likely to teleport moonwards. Although there's no price history to work with, we can use Fibonacci retracement levels to get an idea of where price might land. If you're not familiar, you may be wondering how this arbitrary-looking set of lines could possibly predict important price levels, but they do. How and why this works is a story for another video, but it's less esoteric than you might think. Just picture millions of traders applying the same cookie-cutter set of lines to their charts, and you can imagine how they end up placing orders at the same levels. For reference, on the BTC USDT chart, an important upper boundary represented by the 1.618 fib level corresponds to a price of $102,000. Funnily enough, BTC hit this level recently, and this is why some respected traders are now exiting the market. I know this might sound crazy to the bulls out there, but BTC touching 6 figures has prompted some cautious market participants to say, okay, seems like a good time to sell. Anyway, on the ETH USDT chart, the same 1.618 fib level drawn in the same way corresponds to a price of around $7,300. We believe that this is a decent base case target for 2025. For a crypto that has struggled for so long to hold above $4,000 or even $3,000, it might even sound too much to ask. However, $7,300 is less than double the current market price. Considering that ETH has yet to rally even to its 2021 high, we think that it should have enough juice in the tank to pull this off. Now, how high ETH goes will of course be dictated by the boss, aka BTC. Reasonable people disagree about how high BTC will go in 2025, but we think the very upper limit of plausibility is probably around $200,000. If you caught our recent video on how high BTC might go, you'll know that British multinational bank Standard Chartered has been publicly calling for a $200,000 BTC by the end of 2025. It's worth pointing out that Standard Chartered's global head of digital assets, Jeff Kendrick, previously predicted that BTC would reach $100,000 in 2023. He was off by a very wide margin because BTC's yearly high at the end of 2023 was under $45,000. Whether or not BTC can go this high next year depends on how long bullish market conditions persist. In our BTC price prediction video, we outlined the consensus view that the bull market will conclude at some point in 2025. We also noted that is a very wide time frame, and a cycle top could come at any moment, including in January. As such, we think a figure well below $200,000 is more likely.
What
of course,
else, baby? Oh, the Ask GBT, yeah. Yeah, baby, we can get it done. We just gonna get on Zoom, and then we just gonna put the shit on your computer. All right, baby. Bye. Move. What? Move. Damn. Move. Yo, how this nigga in the spawn already? My bad. I should have been reloaded. Fuck! All them bitch ass niggas on me. I hit his partner, he went to backing up. Get the fuck out of here. Back up. Back up.
we will be the first to crack out the champagne if the market proves us wrong. But anyway, let's for argument's sake consider BTC at $200,000 a kind of ceiling on what ETH will do in 2025. At the time of making this video, 200k is more than double the current market price of BTC. However, this doesn't mean that the best case scenario for ETH is also double its current market price. That's because ETH's price expansion is lagging several steps behind that of BTC, as we've seen from the ETH BTC chart. And as I mentioned earlier, BTC has already touched the macro 1.618 fib level of $102,000. Using the same fibs applied the same way, ETH has only just made it to the 0.786 level. So, rather than doubling this price, we think doubling ETH's price at the 1.618 level will give us a better upper limit of what could happen in 2025. You'll recall that this 1.618 level is about $7,300, which again we think is a pretty good base case target. Doubling this would give us $14,600, or about 3.65x from the current market price of $4,000. For an asset that has underperformed BTC so severely, this sounds like a tall order indeed, and it's therefore the most extreme bullish case for 2025 that we can take seriously. If BTC touches 200k in 2025, orthodoxy suggests that profits will rotate into ETH. With BTC at such a high level, this could be enough capital to bring ETH up above $14,000. Now, thus far, we've looked mostly at TA for an indication of where ETH might go. However, there are fundamental factors intrinsic to ETH and the altcoin market that will influence price performance. As we've established, ETH has been seriously underperforming. This underperformance is locked in a symbiotic relationship with Ethereum FUD. It's quite simple. The sentiment keeps the price down and the price keeps the sentiment down. Price up, tech good. Price down, tech bad. It's self-reproducing apathy-based FUD that has made many market participants doubt ETH as an asset. We think this FUD will be forgotten very quickly once ETH is durably above its current all-time high. A $5,000 ETH, for example, will probably make Ethereum one of the popular kids in the playground once again. However, there are far better reasons to doubt ETH's price performance than ambient FUD. For example, the remarkable confluence of bullish catalysts that have brought BTC to $100,000 and bulls targets to twice this level are not so clearly present for ETH. The current global macroeconomic outlook is that all roads lead to inflation, and that this is very bullish for BTC. BTC has the institutional and retail interest, the rumours of a US strategic BTC reserve and sovereign wealth funds buying in, pension funds and other institutions accumulating, and MicroStrategy levering up to buy as much BTC as possible at apparently any price. BTC also has no competition because there is no other asset, crypto or otherwise, that has the same properties. We could keep going, but I think you get the idea. ETH has plenty going for it too, but for many investors, it's merely the biggest and least lucrative among countless altcoins. For those paying attention, ETH is specifically a smart contract layer 1 crypto, but we think these details will be of little importance to marginal buyers who are merely looking for an altcoin to bid on as a leverage bet on BTC. If this is indeed the case, then these risk-seeking buyers are truly spoiled for choice, because there are now literally millions of altcoins that could fit this description. To be sure, the vast majority are microscopic junk tokens that are not worth discussing. But still, there are many alternatives to ETH that better satisfy the risk tolerance of degens trying to get rich via crypto. For those who are actively interested in crypto, investments will be split between Ethereum and alternative smart contract chains, such as the Ethereum killer Solana, and inevitably the Solana killers Sui and Aptos, for example. This is not to mention ETH's competition from its own Layer 2 solutions native tokens, which to the altcoin investor are essentially ETH betas, or a leverage bet on ETH itself. Then there are meme coins, which are the pinnacle of the high-risk, high-reward investment that draws investors into altcoins in the first place. You get the point. ETH faces fierce competition in a way that BTC simply does not. Now, much has been said about altcoin market saturation this year, and wherever ETH tops out this cycle will provide a confirmation or invalidation of this thesis. Confirmation or invalidation would best be measured by charts like ETH BTC and ETH Sol, which will lay bare the strength of ETH relative to the rest of the crypto market. If the altcoin saturation thesis plays out, then we won't be holding our breath for ETH at $14,000 or even $10,000. We may be lucky to see $7,000. With all that said though, ETH's price in USD will ultimately be determined by how hard the crypto market rips from here. If 2025 outdoes our wildest bullish fantasies, then ETH could reach $14,000 or more, while also being dragged down by altcoin market saturation. This would imply a bull run of obscene proportions, and we would like to state for the record that we think this scenario is highly unlikely. The reason we mention it is because crypto has a habit of going much higher and much lower than sensible people expect. Anything can happen, but the important thing to remember is that nothing has to happen. ETH at 10k or even 20k one day could certainly happen, and it might even happen soon. But it doesn't have to. Nothing is guaranteed, and this is why any targets you form for yourself should reflect an unemotional view of the market, preferably based on what the charts are suggesting. As price action develops and market structure changes, so too should your bias towards further upside or downside. If BTC runs to 199k, but the chart suddenly starts screaming bearish signals, we would not be caught dead waiting for 200k to sell our bags. Not financial advice, just good old risk management. And with that, folks, I'll turn the question to you. Our base case for ETH over the next year is a little over $7,000, provided nothing bad happens. In the most bullish, plausible scenario, we can see ETH running to $14,000, but we wouldn't bet the family silver on it. But what do you folks think? Are we giving Vitalik too much credit? Or will he send us to 20k before the end of the year with another bull post on Twitter? Let us know your targets in the comments below and why you think they'll be hit. And if you got something out of this video, don't forget to drop us a like and make sure you're subscribed and have your bell notifications turned on so you don't miss our next upload. Plus, if you want to hear more about why ETH could be on the verge of a breakout, then check out this video here. Or for a rundown of what happened at Ethereum's recent DevCon event, then this video here has you covered. Alright, see you again soon.
I feel very excited.
Ah, damn it. Get back over there. Sit down. Sit your ass down. Sit down. Get back over there. Sit down.
My crypto portfolio. Now, in my opinion, Pyth Network is one of the most underrated cryptos there is. That's because it's an oracle that provides high-frequency data feeds that blockchains like Solana depend on. In other words, Pyth Network is like Chainlink, and some would argue that it's better than Chainlink. That's because Pyth Network technically has its own blockchain called PythNet, which could theoretically leverage the Pyth token for fees someday. This could make Pyth bigger than Link, which is already pretty darn big. For the time being though, Pyth continues to fly under the radar, which is good news for those looking to get in early, but bad news for those who have already been accumulating for a while, like yours truly. For context, I've been accumulating Pyth since we covered Pyth Network on the Coin Bureau Club. And I'll reiterate that you can become a member of that using the link in the description. Now, as for the cryptos on my watch list, I'll tell you about one, and that is Aave. As most of you will know, Aave is the largest DeFi lending and borrowing protocol in crypto. What you may not know is that Aave is planning on deploying to Move-based blockchains like Aptos, something we noted in our recent update. As a matter of fact, Aave founder Stani Kolechov believes that Move could become the new standard for development in crypto. Aside from the fact that this paints a very bullish picture for the likes of Aptos and Sui, it also paints a bullish picture for Aave, which has been on the cutting edge of crypto ever since it launched. Not only that, but Aave is working on a decentralized stablecoin called Go, and has also been expanding into other narratives like SocialFi with Lens Protocol. Aave has even been working on improving user experience in crypto, which is yet another thing that many people have overlooked. And in case it wasn't clear enough, the cryptos on my watch list are the ones that I'm thinking of accumulating in the coming weeks and months. Aave is likely to be one of the first, and Coin Bureau Club members will be the first to know when I've added it to my crypto portfolio. You fine folks already know how to join that elite band, so I'll see you there.
All right, my turn. As you can see, the top 5 cryptos in my portfolio are Bitcoin, Solana, Sui, Injective Protocol, and Near Protocol, which collectively make up over 96% of my portfolio. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking I'm a Bitcoin maxi, given that nearly 64% is in BTC. But my large BTC holdings are a result of being in crypto for close to a decade. Of course, the difference between Guy and myself is that I recognized just how much potential Bitcoin could have thanks to where I began my career. For those who don't know, I used to work in TradFi at Goldman Sachs. It's funny that some have tried to wield this fact as something that's discrediting, when in actual fact, it gave me a bit of an edge. It helped me realize that the traditional financial system wasn't fit for purpose very early on. Anyways, like Guy, I've come to recognize that Bitcoin is in a category of its own. The difference here is that I think BTC has the potential to be much more than something you simply hodl. The introduction of technologies like ordinals and BRC20s has, in my view, taken Bitcoin's value proposition to a whole other level. Take a second to consider. that Bitcoin is technically the most secure payment network on the planet, and that BTC is, by some measures, the most liquid asset in the world. This makes Bitcoin the perfect foundation for use cases of all kinds, and makes BTC the ideal asset to use for these use cases. And this is why I'm particularly excited about things like BTC restaking and using BTC within DeFi protocols on Bitcoin layer 2s and elsewhere. This will greatly increase BTC's utility while simultaneously unlocking tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars of capital that wants to use BTC as collateral. A lot of this money will flow right back into Bitcoin, while simultaneously unlocking tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars of capital that wants to use BTC as collateral. A lot of this money will flow right back into Bitcoin.
Yo, ain't no fucking way, bro. Yo, ain't no fucking way, bro. Oh, that's why I can't play this shit. What in the fuck? Oh, it's a stupid ass game. What in the fuck? That shit just so fucking stupid, bro. Fuck out of here, man.
Your future is at your fingertips. Take advantage of the flexibility and a
Bitcoin is a commodity. It should be treated like gold and like oil.
Crypto has been no stranger to bullish catalysts lately. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful forces in global finance is quietly gearing up to shake things up in a big way? And that's because Cantor Fitzgerald, a name synonymous with Wall Street's elite, is making some serious moves into crypto, moves that could pump the entire crypto market in 2025. Let's dig in. Cantor Fitzgerald was founded back in 1945 by Bernard Gerald Cantor and John Fitzgerald. What started as a humble investment bank quickly evolved into a Wall Street powerhouse. In its early years, Cantor ventured into large block sales and equity trading for institutional investors, setting the stage for its future success. A significant milestone came in 1972 when the company became the world's first electronic marketplace for US government securities, putting it on the map for technological advancement in finance. The firm would double down on its commitment to technical innovation after Howard Lutnick became Cantor's new CEO in 1991. For context, Howard joined the company back in 1983 as a fixed income analyst before quickly moving his way up the ranks. By 1991, just 8 years later, Howard was named as the new CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Under Howard's leadership, Cantor would go on to develop eSpeed, which would be developed and released in the 1990s. As one of the world's first digital platforms to offer 24-hour trading of US treasuries, eSpeed revolutionized the bond market. Today, Cantor Fitzgerald is recognized for its expertise in investment banking, asset management, and various other financial services. However, the company's story isn't just one of financial success, it's also one of resilience. And that's because Cantor Fitzgerald suffered unbelievable losses in the attacks of 9/11. You see, the company's headquarters were based in the World Trade Center, just several floors above the impact zone of one of the aircraft.
just after the plane hit, and he told her that
Sadly, every single person that was at work that day passed away. More specifically, out of the company's 960 staff members, a staggering 658 of them died, along with 46 contractors, food service workers, and visitors who were in the office on that day. This tragedy accounted for nearly 70% of Cantor's workforce and about a quarter of the total number of victims, marking the largest loss of life suffered by any single organization on that day. Howard himself would have normally been in the office that day, but as chance would have it, he was busy taking his son to his first day at kindergarten instead. When he saw the attacks, he tried to get to the scene but was
Welcome to Ironbeam, the future of futures trading. With our cutting-edge chart trading feature and 300 plus indicators, you can now trade directly off the chart anytime, anywhere. Delivering seamless trading across all platforms, the Ironbeam journey is supported by 24-hour trader support, low day trade margins, and no account minimums. Ironbeam brings the future into the present. Join now and augment your trading experience.
Hate seeing ads? It's almost 2025. You don't have to anymore. The internet is almost unusable with how many ads you have to scroll through. Until now. Meet Pi, a free Chrome extension that blocks ads for good. Pi blocks ads on YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, and more. Gives you cash back rewards when you opt in to see ads. And is trusted by over 1 million users and counting. Pi is the fastest growing, highest rated ad blocker that you can trust. Say goodbye to ads for good. Download Pi today for free.
Michael Saylor, welcome back to the show.
Happy to be here.
It is very good to have you. Now, at the time of recording, Bitcoin is over 100K and has been for quite a while at this point. So I think the question of is Bitcoin real is dead. But now the question becomes, how does Bitcoin go from where we're at a little over 100K to the 13 million a coin that you consider the base case?
Yeah, I think I've always said it's either something or it's nothing. If it's embraced as an institutional asset, if it's legitimized as an asset, then it's not going to zero. And if it's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million. And I think the short answer to your question is education, and with education comes adoption. And at this point, you just have 95% of the world that still doesn't quite understand what it is. And that means, I mean, the way Bitcoin marches from 100,000 to 13 million, and by that's, for your listeners, you're referring to my long-term forecast. I gave that forecast in Nashville in July of this year. And it's based upon the Bitcoin 24 model. So the Bitcoin 24 model is an open source macro model of Bitcoin adoption and macroeconomic development over the next 21 years. Anybody can go to Google and they can Google Bitcoin 24. They'll find it on GitHub. You can download that model. You can plug in all your own assumptions and you can check what we thought. But my forecast is Bitcoin, in essence, it's growing 60% a year for quite a while now, and I'm forecasting it will decelerate to 20% a year over 21 years. But that means on average it grows about 29% a year ARR. And that 29% a year for 21 years gets you to 13 million a coin. And so what do I expect to happen? Well, I expect lots of high net worth individuals that previously thought it's too risky or it's too scary. They see it legitimized by BlackRock. Now BlackRock is giving guidance that you could have 2% of your portfolio in Bitcoin. And they're seeing the ETFs like IBIT. And they're noticing that these are the most successful ETFs in the history of the world. And BlackRock has got the most successful ETF ever launched. And now they're seeing the world's largest money manager, BlackRock, with more than $11 trillion of money managed. They're seeing them publish scholarly, thoughtful, responsible white papers on portfolio allocation. And instead of the 60-40 model with 60% equity and 40% bonds, now you've got 2% that they're saying you might want to put into a crypto asset like Bitcoin. So I think that you've got that group of people that are finding it. I also think you've got institutional investors that are moving into Bitcoin more frequently now. A lot of them are big investors in MicroStrategy. A lot of them trade MicroStrategy options. And they have MicroStrategy's been the most successful stock in the S&P index. We're not in the S&P, but we're more successful than all 500 S&P companies for the past 4 years. I think this year too. So we're getting the attention of mainstream investors, and that's bringing a set of new investors to the asset class, because when they buy our stock, we buy Bitcoin with it. I think the third driver is a bunch of Bitcoin standard companies. A lot of companies are recapitalizing their balance sheets on Bitcoin. MicroStrategy was the first, but Mara has done it, M-A-R-A, and Riot just announced they're doing it, R-I-O-T, and the most successful company in the Japanese stock market this year is Metaplanet, and they just did it, and Semler Scientific just did it, and they tripled their stock in very short order. So you've got like a half dozen companies that are recapitalizing to the Bitcoin standard, but you've got 60 companies that have Bitcoin, and there's a lot of companies that are getting more heavily involved. I think recently Hut 8 announced, Hut, H-U-T, and then Rumble, R-U-M, and so a bunch of public companies that are kind of, they're innovators, and they've got a fairly open mind, and they're flexible. And the really important thing about that, Tom, is when a public company adopts Bitcoin, they start sweeping their cash flows into it. But then after that, they may start issuing equity. And then after that, they can borrow money. So Riot just this week issued a $500 million convertible bond, and then they bought Bitcoin with it. And Mara...
Is this Riot Games?
No, Riot Bitcoin Mining. R-I-O-T, Riot. And so Mara did the same thing. They did a $1 billion convertible bond deal, and they bought Bitcoin, and then they did another $850 million bond deal 2 weeks later. And MicroStrategy, when we announced we were going to pursue a Bitcoin treasury company model, we announced that October 30th of just this year, and we've raised, something in the range of $15 billion in the last 6 weeks. And so you're talking about large sums of money that are flowing, much larger sums. It took us 30 years to accumulate $500 million in order to buy Bitcoin in 2020. It took us 4 years to accumulate $10 billion, and we bought Bitcoin over the next 4 years. But then it took us like 4 weeks or 5 weeks to accumulate the next 15 billion. So you would check off that box, which is company adoption. Then after that, you've got like institutional adoption. The endowments and the pension funds. There's now pension funds that are starting to allocate to Bitcoin, and there'll be big university endowments and
they stacked up on me.
And insurance companies, and so that's another driver. And then you've got nation states, and of course the news of the week is the United States Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, and the U.S. already has about 1% of the Bitcoin. If they don't sell it, that's a big deal. And Donald Trump said, "Never sell your Bitcoin," and then he was elected president. But now you have Senator Cynthia Lummis advocating for a U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. You have a very supportive cabinet, lots of cabinet members that have been pro-Bitcoin, and then Senator Lummis just posted a tweet just a few hours ago, having met with the incoming Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, saying that she looks forward to working with him on this.
Them niggas every fucking
that
where.
means that he is also supportive. And we know that the Trump White House and Trump is supportive. He was asked on the New York Stock Exchange floor, I think yesterday, by Jim Cramer about it, will you do something like this? And he said, I think so. I think we need to lead. So I think that that's also positive. So let's just say there's a lot of different entities in the world with capital. I mean, who doesn't want to keep their money? Who doesn't want more money? Right? Everybody wants to either keep their money or they could use more money. And so Bitcoin is digital money. It's the greatest digital monetary network in the world, but maybe it's the first example of what I call digital capital. It's money, just so I can help people not be confused. Money is a generic term, but it decomposes in the modern world into two elements: currency and capital. Currency is the dollar and the peso and the euro. That is the medium of exchange asset. It is designated legal tender. That means you can swap it without paying a tax bill on it. And it means it's liquid and fungible, and probably it's good for paying taxes, and everybody prices things in it. That's not going to change. The world reserve currency is the dollar. The dollar's been the world reserve currency since just after World War I, and in different forms. The dollar is getting stronger, not weaker. But there's another aspect of money. It's store of value. If I had a liquid fungible asset that was a store of value that I could give to my children's children, well, nobody thinks that's the dollar, and nobody in the U.S. thinks it's the dollar. Rich people in the U.S. don't have 50% of their assets invested in dollar bills. And what they do think it is in the modern world is they think it's the S&P index, like the Vanguard 500 or SPY or some index fund, or maybe they think it's real estate. And real estate's a store of value, but it's not liquid and fungible. So it's a little bit different. It's difficult to swap it out in units of $1 million every day. And so it's not quite money, but it is capital in that regard. And gold for 5,000 years was kind of capital. It was a bar of gold bullion was that long-term store of value asset that people use. Bitcoin is emerging as digital capital. And people, they're not going to use it as a medium exchange to buy a cup of coffee. But if you want to buy something to give to your granddaughter that she can't mess up even though she's 3 years old, and you don't want to worry about it every day, and you don't want to trade it, and you don't want to worry about antitrust and whether or not there'll be rent control on the building or renting it out, you just buy her 1 Bitcoin. And you put it in cold storage, and then 60 years from now, she'll be rich because the 1 Bitcoin will probably be worth $50 million or $100 million, right? And so what's going on right now is the emergence of Bitcoin as a digital capital network for the world. And the thing driving it from 100,000 to 13 million over the next 21 years is the adoption of it as a capital asset by people that have the wealth, have the capital.
All right, a lot of people in my audience are not going to understand why you can't just store your money in dollars. I have a whole tirade about it, but I'd love to hear why. How do you explain to people why you can't just put your money in a bank account or under your mattress in dollars?
The simple answer is the supply of dollars expands about 7% a year, every year for the past 100 years. And what that means is that if you want to buy something that is a very scarce, desirable asset that the government can't make more of and that manufacturers can't make more of, if technology and capital and machinery and robots can't make more of it, it's scarce and desirable. Here's an example. An acre of beachfront property in Palm Beach, or a beachfront house in the Hamptons, or waterfront property in Miami Beach. That's a desirable place to live. You can't make more of it. And if you go back 100 years, you'll see that the value of that acre was $10,000. And you go forward 100 years, and that is about $10 million. And for those who are very quick at math, they'll realize that works out to 7% increase in price every year for 100 years. And that's why people buy houses for $100 million on the beach in Palm Beach. And my house, the house that I'm in right now, it was sold in 1930, and I have the deed on my wall, and it was sold for $100,000.
Fucking hoe ass nigga.
If you put that $100,000 in a vault and you kept it safe and sound for the 90 years, and if you took it out, it would pay about 8 to 12 weeks of my property tax on this house.
When I tell you this steak is what's for breakfast, it means we're heading to McDonald's ASAP. Try a delicious steak, egg, and cheese bagel today and take a bite of that tender, juicy steak patty with a fluffy folded egg and melty American cheese with grilled onions. All held between a freshly toasted bagel with real butter. Or switch things up and enjoy a steak patty on any of your breakfast faves. Order up a steak, egg, and cheese biscuit, McGriddles, or McMuffin. Make it steak your way. Make it steak for breakfast. Only at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary.
Oh, it's a whole team out here.
Alright, let me
Keep
let me
that
say
house
it.
for 8 weeks. Go
Let me
ahead.
say it in my way. Tell me if this resonates with you. The reason that you can't store your money in cash is that the government steals your buying power by printing more of it.
Move.
I find it's very sobering to look at it as theft.
Move.
Does that resonate with you, or do you think I'm being hyperbolic?
What I just fucking say?
No, you're correct. In essence, the inflation of the dollar supply means that your wealth is cut in half every 10 years if you hold all your wealth in cash. And it's the rule of 72, right? You divide 7% into 72. That's the half-life of the asset. So the half-life of your wealth is 10 years if you store it in cash. If someone gives you an asset you can invest in that goes up 7% a year, you're keeping up with inflation. You're not getting wealthier, but you're not getting poorer. You're just treading water, you know? And if you're beating that hurdle rate, then you're getting a bit wealthier. So once you understand that, you can see that you can't preserve your wealth for long periods of time in a fiat currency. And the best fiat currency in the world, Tom, is the dollar. But in most other currencies, they inflate at 14% a year. And that means the half-life of your wealth is 5 years. But in a weak currency, like in Turkey or Syria or Iraq or Venezuela or Argentina, it used to be for 20 years, the inflation rate looks more like 28% a year or 30% a year. And we take example, the peso. The peso went from 1 peso to the dollar to 1,000 pesos to the dollar over 20 years.
Jesus.
Okay, so in America, you got to keep in mind, you're an American. You live in the greatest country of the last 100 years. America won every war, right? We were the winner of World War I. We got richer. We were the winner of World War II. We never lost a war. We were the winners of the century. Our currency lost 99.9% of its economic power over the 100 years. But if you went to Nigeria, or like Germany, the currency crashed like 2 or 3 times, right? In Japan, the currency crashed, you know. In Russia, it crashed last time the Russian currency crashed in 98. The Brazilian currency crashed completely 25 years ago. The Argentine currency crashed about 4 times in 100 years. So if you're an Argentinian and you're 30 years old, you already know what it's like to have hyperinflation because you lived the entire cycle. It's just Americans don't. And so if you're taking advice from an American business person like Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, well, I mean, they didn't live through the Weimar Republic.
Yo, what the fuck is that?
The currency collapsed in Venezuela. It collapsed in Argentina. It collapsed in Brazil. It collapsed in Cuba.
Total fuck shit.
It collapsed in Russia. It collapsed in every single country in Africa. You see? And so foreigners actually get it a bit better, right? It's like the bank's going to take your money. The currency's going to zero. The government's going to promise you it'll be okay and tell you to put your money in the bank. Then they're going to inflate the currency, freeze your bank account, crash the currency, and then tell you it's worthless. That's what happened in Cyprus not too long ago, if you want to go and Google that. And so the real promise of Bitcoin is very simple. It's a bank in cyberspace that won't steal your money. And it's an asset that you can store your life savings in that nobody can debase or corrupt. And those are 2 powerful promises for the first time in the history of the human race. No one ever gave you those 2 promises ever before now.
Yeah, the thing that, and a lot of this started with me getting to know you, researching cryptocurrency, realizing the just absolute devastation that even in America is happening with inflation. and understanding this difference that you're now talking about in a really clear fashion, that until I started researching you for this episode, I'd never heard you delineate it this way, that money is bifurcated into those two elements. You've got the money that you spend, cool, but then you've got the money that you're trying to preserve your wealth over time. When I tell people the way you should think about your house is not something that's going to go up in value over time. You should think of your house as something that you pay an insurance policy against, the upkeep, the property tax, as a way to match inflation, which is unless your area becomes disproportionately desirable, and that does happen. So like Austin went up in value because people just flooded into that area. But for the most part, what you're going to see is actually just keeping up with inflation. That as the dollar is devalued, it looks like the price and the value of your house is going up, but it's really not. Now,
I think
when
that's
you
fair,
start
by the way. I think that's definitely a good way to think of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yo, that's some whole ass shit. Ain't no fucking
when I
way.
start talking about this stuff, my employees look at me a little bit like I'm crazy because
you
I'm
cheating.
so aggressive about getting people to understand, and it'll be very
bitch
interesting to
ass
have this
nigga, you
conversation with
cheating.
you, that ultimately the stock market is gambling. And once you understand that people have been forced to become gamblers based on inflation, that you have to find a way to outpace inflation, otherwise you lose your money. And the really smart among us look at the capital system, look at the equities market, and they go, oh, cool, I have a really complex way that I can find arbitrage basically in these moments where if I find an area of risk that I think I understand better than the next person, I can come in, I can buy that asset, it goes up in value compared to what I can sell it for down the road, and I'm able to sell it for a bigger win than inflation. And that forces everyone to play that game or to just have their buying power stripped away from them, which of course is what happens to the vast majority of, call it normal to undereducated. They're just going to get eaten alive because they don't have the time, energy, or intellect to figure out this relatively complicated game. Okay, so with all of that as the structure of why even the average person should care about this to a screaming degree, there's an idea that you say, but you go by quickly, that I think if people understood, it's really going to help them. So you've said, I want to see the entire world recapitalize in Bitcoin. Now, when you say recapitalize, is what you mean, hey, that part of your wealth that you want to store to maintain purchasing power over time, all of that, instead of being in real estate, instead of being in treasuries, instead of being in equities,
Get the fuck
that
outta
should
here,
move over to Bitcoin? Is that what you mean?
What if my team and I did all the work for you?
Hoe ass niggas, fuck y'all.
Find and private label winning products, craft and manage your Facebook ads while scaling you past 7 figures. And then we split the profits 70-30 in your favor. Now I'll be transparent with you. This is a video designed to get you to book a sales call so we can sell you something. Because you want to grow an online business to help fuel your freedom. Talking about time freedom, financial freedom, location freedom. And maybe you want to get to 6, maybe even...
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah, you've articulated that quite well. Yes, build your house on a firm foundation. Don't build it on sinking sand. Don't build it on a swamp. Build it on a granite rock, on schist. And I guess if I could give the math, the risk-free rate of the dollar, if you're capitalized on US dollars, and you were to say buy treasury bonds, the risk-free rate is something close to SOFR, or the standard overnight funding rate, and you know that ranges. But after you get paid that rate and you get taxed on it, you know you might get paid 5%. You get to keep 3% after tax. Maybe if you're tax-free, you get 4.5%, and if you're taxed, you get 3%. So the risk-free rate of return of your capital on that dollar standard is like in the 3% range.
We'll get back to my conversation with Michael Saylor in a moment, but first, let's talk about digital security. As the CEO of a media company, I am all too aware of how vulnerable our data is to cyber criminals. Just imagine, every piece of sensitive data you have is accessible through the internet right now. Your bank accounts, your private messages, your business plans, all of it. That's why I'm excited about NordVPN. With just one click, NordVPN creates a secure, encrypted tunnel for your data, using the same military-grade encryption that cybersecurity experts trust. It makes information invisible to anyone who might try to access it. Here's an exclusive offer for our listeners. Go to nordvpn.com/impacttheory right now, and you'll get the best discount on NordVPN. Plus, they're throwing in 4 extra months free on the 2-year plan. And you can try it risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's Nord, NORDVPN.com/impacttheory. If you're running a SaaS company, you know the pain of security compliance. Getting certified with industry standards like SOC 2 isn't just expensive, it's a massive drain on your team's time and resources. That's where Vanta comes in. Vanta transforms this entire process. They automate your compliance work, cutting your costs by up to 85%, getting you audit ready in a fraction of the time. This isn't a Band-Aid solution. It's a complete system that evolves with your business, handling everything from ongoing compliance monitoring to security reviews. Over 7,000 companies, including Atlassian and Quora, trust Vanta to handle their compliance. They're proving their security works in real time, building customer trust and focusing on what matters, growing your business. Stop letting compliance slow you down. Head to vanta.com/theory and get $1,000 off. That's VANTA.com/theory. And now let's get back to my conversation with Michael Saylor.
The risk-free rate for Bitcoin, as I just described it to you, 29% over 21 years, about 30%. So the way I look at investments is when you're pitching me an investment idea, I say, well, I've got a lot of money in Bitcoin and I'm expecting about 30% risk-free for the next 20 years. You have to actually pitch me an idea that generates more than 30% plus the risk premium plus the tax efficiency. If you told me here's a thing that'll make me 50% a year, but it was going to be taxable, that might be 40% a year or 35% a year, and I'm like, well, after the risk, it's still not as good as
fucking third party. I fucking knew it.
So if you're capitalized on Bitcoin, if you understand it, and if you understand, if you have a long time horizon, if you're going to hold it more than 4 years, you don't care about the volatility. All you care about is the annualized return. The annualized return.
Hold on, because there's a lot of assumptions in there. So I know a lot of people are clutching their pearls right now about Bitcoin being referred to as risk-free. So can you break down for us the difference between that volatility and then how you can have the confidence to look at this and say, no, the risk is merely a timeline question, because I think a lot of people will take exception to that.
When you first heard about creative finance, did you think it was a scam?
Yep.
Be real.
Yeah.
You did?
It sounded too good to be true.
Sounded too good to be true. So it the same thing for me, guys. 11 years later, I'm still doing hundreds of these transactions every single year, and it blows my mind. Here we are at a house, 17742 West Via Hermosa Lane in Surprise, Arizona. It's a house that I got, no cash, no credit, no bank. I got paid up front to buy the house. Here's the address right here. I'll even give you a link to the documents, the closing documents. I'll give you a link. I'll prove to you that it's not a scam. And I went through a closing attorney, but the coolest thing is not only did I get paid, I helped a seller who was having a hard time selling the house and an agent who was having a hard time selling a house. That's cool, but I also helped a family that's moving in tomorrow into this house that was told they could never get a bank loan because the husband, the father, filed $0 on his tax returns because he's a business owner, he's a smart guy. And so I'm helping all these people that couldn't do this without me, and I'm getting paid in the process. It seems so good, like too good to be true.
Yeah, so, well, the dollar is zero ARR, zero volatility. That is to say, the dollar goes up 0% against itself each year, and the dollar is zero volatility against itself each year. So if you're on the dollar, you're living in flat land, and you're a stationary person in flat land, a pedestrian in flat land. Bitcoin is going up 60% a year against the dollar. How long? Well, since MicroStrategy made its first investment 4 years ago, it's 60%. But if you stretch back 6, 8, 10 years, I think it's also 60%. So like a decade. But you can measure it back a decade and you see it's going up 60% a year. and it's 60 volatility. It's a 60 vol against the dollar. So you should think of Bitcoin as an asset. It's like you're on a speeding train going 60 miles an hour, and you've got a flywheel spinning 60 RPM. And the pedestrian on flat land is standing on the plane watching the train go by, thinking this is scary. It's going to suck the oxygen out of my lungs. And they're thinking, my money isn't an asset because it goes up 0% a year. So they have a different view toward money than the view of someone on the Bitcoin train. The person with $1 million of cash is going to have $1 million of cash in a decade. A person with $1 million of Bitcoin is going to double their capital every 18 months. If they just hold on to it, right? And so they're going to double it once, twice, three, four times at that rate, right? The volatility
But this really does
itself,
come down to, sorry, and I'll let you get back to that, but this does come down to a belief that when you look into the future, that the setup that makes it have the 60% ARR is going to continue. Because I look at this and I say the only reason that it has that kind of reward is that it is volatile, that there are question marks. Because if there were no question marks, everyone would flood in near instantly. It would hit homeostasis, and that would be that. So I think Bitcoin is anything but risk-free, but I do think that the volatility is advantageous for the people who are going to be right if people are right about the upside. That's the most fair way to say it. Why do you think the best way to conceptualize this is as risk-free?
Howard Marks would say volatility is not risk. Volatility is volatility, right? A merry-go-round, or a carnival ride or a roller coaster is volatile. The risk part is if you fly off the roller coaster, right? If the merry-go-round stops working, etc. So the fundamental risk of Bitcoin is the existential risk of an extinction level event and Bitcoin, right? If space aliens come down and say, we're taking your Bitcoin away from you, right, then I guess there's risk. If some evil genius finds a way to create a cyber virus that infects and destroys the Bitcoin network instantly, irrevocably, that is the risk. So but that's kind of like that's the existential risk you take when you get on the airplane. If it crashes, that's the existential risk you take when you cross the street. That's the existential risk you take when you put a piece of food in your mouth, and you say, well, can you imagine that hurting me? And I say, yeah, if I put poison in the food, you're dead. Okay, so do you trust me? Do you trust the waiter when you put the food in your mouth, right? So yes, there is some risk in life. And the existential risk is that extinction level event.
You don't think there's another layer of risk in that, not existential, because you're saying the risk-free return of Bitcoin is 60%. But I think there is, it seems strange to me to not allocate some percentage of, maybe it doesn't grow that fast, maybe it doesn't remain 60%. You yourself say over the next, 21 years, it's going to come down. It'll average out over about 29%. What if that accelerates and the return ends up being substantively less than that? So I get saying that this has a better chance of having a higher annual rate of return than, say, the S&P 500, which maybe we clock at 15%. We say, we might not hit 60%, but we're probably not going to drop below 15%. Therefore, if 15% is our hurdle rate, it's going to be something north of that. But I think where people trip up with your language is this idea of the inevitability of the 60%. What would you say to that?
So we're dealing with three concepts: risk, volatility, and performance. Okay, so I've addressed the risk issue by pointing out that there is existential risk in your given network or frame of reference. And I just want to make that point. Once you understand that risk of being in that frame of reference, then you have to figure out what's the source of the volatility and the performance. And if you don't understand why the asset does what it does. If you don't understand the economic physics involved, then you'll think it's random, and you'll feel like the performance is risky. But I want to give you an example of a physical metaphor.
Hey, Mike, what is that?
It's Iron Beam, your go-to place for futures trading.
Whoa!
Yeah, just hold on. You're about...
I'm a hiker, and I come across a mountain lake. And the mountain lake has 500 trillion gallons of water in it. And yeah, I don't know how it got there, but it's there. The water's chilly, it's clear, and I look down and there's a waterfall coming off the mountain lake. And the waterfall, very beautiful and it's very turbulent, right? Water is turbulent in a waterfall. Water is not turbulent in a glassy lake. So the turbulence is volatility, right? And there's waterfall, and then I look at it, and now if you look at it, you say, I don't know why that water falls downhill. I don't know if it'll keep falling downhill, but I hate the volatility. Then I guess you can take a selfie in front of the lake, go swimming, get cold, and leave. But if, let's say you're not a tourist, but you're an engineer. So you come across the same lake and you see the waterfall and you see the 500 trillion gallons and you think about gravity and you think about sunlight. And now I know how the water got there. The water got there because the sun shone on the ocean. The water evaporated from the ocean. It rose up in the clouds. The wind blew it against the mountain. It condensed and it rained into the mountain, and the water ran off the mountain into the mountain lake. I know how it got there. And then I think, well, if I create a dam near that waterfall, I build myself a dam, I put a turbine on the dam, and then I drop 1 billion gallons of water. I channel 1 billion gallons of water through the dam, drop it 60 feet. And then I plug that into a hydroelectric power plant. I spin the dynamo, I make electricity, and then if I'm really smart, I run the electric power line to a village down in the valley. I light up the village or I light up the city. Now, someone can come along that doesn't understand physics and they can say, good idea, Junior, but what are you going to do when the water stops flowing downhill? Well, I'm like, well, I actually think the water's flowing downhill because of gravity. Newton solved that for me. And then someone else comes along and says, good idea, Junior, but what are you going to do when you run out of water in the lake? I'm like, well, there's 500 trillion gallons, and I take out my calculator and 1 billion gallons or whatever. It's going to last a long time. Like, well, it's eventually going to run out. I say, well, the sun keeps shining on the ocean, and the ocean keeps lifting the water out of the ocean, and it drops it on this mountain, and that's why there's water in the mountain. But you're right, there's some kind of natural limit, and I suppose there's a limit to the amount of energy I can pull off of this dam, but it's a large number. It's a lot more than your donkey cart, and it's a lot more than your steam, wood stove, and it's a lot more than your coal power plant. And maybe it's a lot cleaner than burning, gasoline. So I'm an engineer, and you're seeing performance thinking it's random, and that's why it's going to stop. And you're seeing volatility, and you're thinking it's random, and maybe it'll stop. And here with Bitcoin, the reason Bitcoin's performing is A, it's volatile, but B, it's a more energy efficient state. The water is flowing down 5,000 feet because it's a lower energy state 1,000 feet below the mountain. It's a lower energy state. You've got potential energy in the water, and it wants to go to ground, and that's just physics. The 500 trillion gallons of water is $500 trillion. And the $500 trillion of assets are sitting in real estate and currency and sovereign bonds and corporate bonds and artwork and equity. And they're invested in the stock of a company in Africa that's going bankrupt, right? They're invested in real estate in Cuba, in Venezuela, in Nigeria. They're sitting in a warehouse that's crumbling. It's got a 40-year life. And so entropy and inflation, you invested $100 billion in a war zone, and then a war broke out, and your money your asset got devalued. all of the things going on in the world, the war, the chaos, the competition, the inflation, the entropy, the passage of time, the hurricane, the COVID, vaccine, the COVID virus, all of these things impaired the value of your assets. The reason Bitcoin is going up, it's not an accident. It's because capital is economic mass. It is flowing from a high energy state, the mountaintop, to a lower energy state, to a more efficient state. It is steam condensing to condensing to water, condensing to ice, giving off energy, just like in any chemistry lab you would learn this. And at the same time, there's this volatility driver, Tom, which is you have an open capital market, and on Saturday night when there's a missile crisis, someone can make a $10 billion short bet levered up 100 to 1 and panic. And they can do it in Bitcoin. And then on Sunday morning, when the missile crisis has passed and nuclear war did not break out, they can go long and they can reverse the trade. And Bitcoin's the only asset where you can sell $1 billion of it in a minute at 100 to 1 leverage, and you can buy $1 billion back in a minute with 100 to 1 leverage on Saturday night and Sunday morning. If you could do that with your Upper East Side apartment, then property values in the Upper East Side
how the fuck, bruh? Get the fuck out of here.
If you could do it with Picasso's, that would be more volatile. Because if people get drunk and they panic and they short your asset 100 to 1 and change their mind 6 hours later when they get up with the hangover, you're going to have volatility. So the volatility is a feature. It's not a bug. It's because it's the most useful thing in the world from a capital market point of view. And if it is that useful, then a Bloomberg jockey in Singapore is going to raise $20 billion in capital, and they're going to make it available for you to trade one Saturday night, or they're going to make $10 billion of credit available to you on Sunday morning because they're getting paid an obscene fee to do it. And once you understand the asset's appreciating because it is thermodynamically sound and it represents a lower, more efficient energy state for capital or for money. And once you understand it's volatile because the network is more useful and more leverageable, it is basically the number one. It is the number one source of credit or leverage in the world for everybody all the time. And once you understand it like that, you see the volatility and the performance are a feature of the engineering and the technology. They're not a happenstance. They're not accidental. They're going to continue in the same way that water will flow downhill. And, just like the normie that sees a fire and it's like, I'm going to harness the fire and I'm going to sell it. And the normie goes, well, what if the fire goes out? And the engineer goes, I'm actually going to create a machine, an internal combustion engine with 8 cylinders, and the fire's not going to go out. And don't you see how the 6-year-old Boy Scout, like the fire goes out, and then Henry Ford creates a machine such that the fire doesn't go out? And when you get on a jet airplane and fly across the Atlantic for 12 hours, do you realize that your life depends upon the fire not going out in the jet engine, and you're surely dead? You will freeze to death before you happen to suffocate should that fire go out. And engineers solve that problem for you. And so the difference between fear and risk and anxiety and competence and commitment is understanding the physics and the engineering of the money involved.
Okay. I think treating it like physics is brilliant. I think the more we can get out of the metaphor into the reality, the better off we're going to be. So let me set the stage, and I'm going to walk us through some of these beats of the non-metaphor version of this. So you just made a presentation to Microsoft to get them to recapitalize using Bitcoin, and they voted against it. So it was 0.55% of people were for it. The rest were not. So when I listen to you, I often get the sense that you really have come to understand the nature of capital flows in a way, certainly as it integrates Bitcoin better than anybody else. And so I feel a bit like I'm talking to the future. So I really do want to map what you just said about it being the physics. I thought the waterfall analogy is really, really brilliant. I'm curious to see if you think this is if the waterfall is the better metaphor, or if a siphon cup is a better metaphor. So let me walk through what I'm understanding. So when you say high energy state of money, I assume you mean high entropy, that there's so much chaos happening. The goal would be to get out of a high chaos environment with inflation, money printing, all of the chaos that wreaks on one's ability to store capital. This is where, again, people need to differentiate between currency and capital. So we want to move that into what you're calling a low energy state, but it's basically there are fewer influences on it. It is going to be there. It has the volatility, which we'll get to in a minute, but in terms of a place to store your capital, once you're not in a short-term time horizon, you're in a longer-term time horizon,
Right.
there's just less influences on it. So far, so good?
Yeah. So far,
Okay,
so good.
so I think what makes that metaphor so powerful is that if I'm understanding you, I'm going to use a siphon metaphor instead of perhaps the more complete waterfall metaphor. I'm not sure yet. So let me use the siphon metaphor and see if I'm understanding where you're going. Here's what I read if I were going to make a bull case for why this is going to play out exactly like you're saying. I go, everybody who's awake and paying attention to capital markets is going to watch people get their 60% ARR year after year after year after year after year. For people, I know you said the stats, but if people really understood what you did with MicroStrategies, taking it from a company where you're like, well, I guess this is dead, to being perhaps the most valuable stock on the stock market, insane, and we'll talk more in a minute about how you did that. But the siphon effect is capital paying attention. So it will first be smart capital who actually understand what's going on. They'll move first. This is obviously what we're seeing play out. Then all the adoption stacks that you walk people through, and then it and this is why I say it's a siphon, it just gets to the point where you can't justify the money not going into it. And so now it's just you no longer need people to understand what's happening, just in the same way that there are bonds of water, there's sort of bonds of narrative about where one should be preserving their capital. And of course, people are still going to preserve their capital in buildings and in art to some extent. You've mapped this out for people. You estimate that I think I have the exact numbers here, but there's a percentage of capital that people store into. So 450 trillion, this is rough numbers, 450 trillion in assets are held for utility. So buildings, things like that, it's not going to change. But there's 450 trillion that's long-term capital, pure store of value. And so the siphon becomes, everyone will see over time that by moving out of this chaotic state where there's inflation, et cetera, down into the low energy state of Bitcoin where there is not, that over time you will approximate, and I don't think you would ever say 100%, but just for simplicity, you will approximate 100% of that long-term store of value capital going to the most efficient, highest return place. And as of today, there's nothing even close to Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to say. I mean, I'm not saying 100% of long-term capital becomes Bitcoin. What I'm really saying is long-term capital is like 450 trillion. I think there's 3% entropic lapse. There's 3% loss in that capital every year, either due to inflation or entropy, whether it's a financial asset or it's a physical asset. And that works out to 13 to 15 trillion dollars a year of inefficiency, and that's just people or institutions owning things, and the building falls down, the company fails, right, etc. I think I would liken it to, well, I mean, all the water's in the lake, and all I got to do is carve a channel, and the water's going to flow downhill. And why? Because that's just the law of physics. If I took all your money, like, I don't know, how much of your money do you have stored in a bank in Africa right now, Tom? What percentage of your wealth? What if I took it?
Zero.
What if I took it all? What if I'm Dr. Evil and I took all your wealth and I moved it into a random bank in Africa? And then I said, hey, April Fool's, Tom, I moved your money here, but here's the key. You can leave it there or you can move it back to the U.S. Would you leave it there or might you move it back?
I would be moving it back.
Yeah, but so would I have to force you to move it back? I mean, wouldn't there be a natural tendency on your part to move the money to a place where you feel more secure with the money? Like human nature is such that there's a lot of people in the world. Do you know that if you went to China and you gave everybody in China the option to move their money to the U.S., not all of them would, but a lot would. Enough so that the Chinese government makes it illegal to do so. Right? The reason there are capital controls, there's a limit of $50,000 a year, is because if people could, they would. So there's a natural tendency of people to want to move their capital from a less secure, more chaotic, more uncertain place, maybe where their property rights are less. I mean, you remember remember in Cuba when the boat people, when everybody wanted to leave Cuba and come to Florida, right? People generally want to move from the less secure to the more secure place. They want to move their person, they want to move their money, etc. It's human nature. I think if we come to this siphon analogy, well, there's just so much energy that gets released when you move from an uncertain, unsafe environment to a more certain, safer, more sound environment. That sometimes you don't have to convince people. Like, for example, a lot of times, if the head of the household could leave a war zone, don't you think they'd bring their entire family with them? Like, the kids might not want to go. My dad made me go to places I didn't want to go. You know why when I was growing up? Because his job. You know, how many children go to a place they don't want to go because their parents get a job? They're chasing money, Tom. So people, why did everybody come to the New World? Money.
Mom, FaceTime video.
Everybody comes up with different ideas. It was all about property rights, and property rights was money. That's why the DuPonts came. That's why everybody came. So generally, you will find, why did people go west? Money. They went west for land. They went west for property. So if you come back to MicroStrategy stock, well, MicroStrategy capitalized on Bitcoin and our stock started working, so people started buying the stock.
The pedestals for me, but then I'm going to knock them off. I'm not there to make things awkward. I don't want that moment of Chrissy Teigen's face. I don't want that. With no meme.
A kick on the gridiron and a serving of beer.
Actually, his punt and pint.
$4
$1,000.
The dollar sign is used in many nations, including